Good evening, everyone. I am Chris, joined once again with Everything in Middle-earth to discuss more Rings of Power. Now, you might be thinking, but why are you doing this? Because Rings of Power Season 2 is finished, thank God. And it has, but just when I thought I was out, I find myself back in again. And we're here to discuss Season 2 as a whole. We did this for Season 1, and I've already mentioned about my OCD and everything like that, and we've got to match what we did for Season 1. So now that we've had the horror and we've witnessed what season 2 had on offer, now is a time for reflection. And that's what this stream is going to be. We don't have a plan for this. We don't have notes on this. So I'm going purely based on memory. We'll see how far that gets me. Because as we know, Rings of Power tends to be a show where, character names, place names, everything just kind of immediately exits your mind once the season is finished. And pertaining to that, Everything Middle-earth, I believe you've got a little bit of a quiz for us that's going to be sprinkled throughout this. So feel free to play at home. I'll pass over to you in just a second to explain the rules for that. But we're here again. Rings of Power Season 2. What's going through your mind right now?
It's really left a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest. It's a season that's come and gone, and there wasn't much hype around it, and it seems to have died a pretty quick death. There's not a lot of people, talking about it afterwards. You had the initial first week, but there's no one going, "Oh, I want to rewatch Rings of Power Season 2 again." So for me, it just felt like such a waste of time, and I definitely hated it more than Season 1. I thought it was awful.
Well, I was going to ask you that actually. Like, now that we've got 2 complete seasons, did you have a preference? I suppose it's like
it's like picking which son to kill. Which one do you want? Like, if I had a preference, I would say Season 1.
Yeah.
And that's only because of the opening. That's it. Apart from that, nothing, because all the damage is done pretty much. And I think you'll be happy to know that we pretty much guaranteed a Season 3.
Yes. By popular demand, we've got it.
It dropped literally 50% of its audience from Season 1 to 2. Yeah, it's got a renewal, which is always good to hear.
Well, I want to know how much it drops during Season 2 as well. I don't know if they've released those figures yet, or if they're going to keep them. If they're going to keep them mum.
What they'll do is they'll release 8 episodes and they'll drop 5 of them on the first day. So it's like, Luke, we've got all these numbers. All these people are watching. But you'll be happy to know as well that one of the new writers, because they've got a whole new writing team.
Yeah, they've cleaned house, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Same showrunners, though. Same showrunners. So I don't hold out much hope.
I do love, this is meant to be so great, yet they've just axed again the writing team for the second time.
Took them long enough. Yeah, it took them long enough. Jesus.
And one of the writers for Season 3 is from Coronation Street. No joke.
We're going to get like a Green Dragon Rover's Return kind of thing going on. What's the pub in Corrie, wasn't it? Rover's Return? I did get that right.
Yes, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have Roy Cropper come in with Haley battling some orcs. But yeah, I just thought it was a total mess, to be honest. Not even just from the canon point of view. I thought story-wise, it was just awful.
Continuity, characters and events, we're going to be all over the place for this, but Arondir getting stabbed during the battle, and then the showrunners completely forgot he got stabbed, and, just bringing up the thumbnail again real quick. He's there. He's fit as a fiddle on that rock look. He's joining the main 3 right there. So, just like consistency. And I've spoken to people, actually, little bit of a tangent. I picked up a new United Cutlery Lord of the Rings weapon the other night. I went to collect it, and I was chatting to the guy, and he was a Lord of the Rings fan, and he started talking about Rings of Power, and I thought, oh, here we go. And he says, I've actually really enjoyed this last series, and I just kept it stum. I was like, what did you enjoy about it? Because I'm genuinely curious. We tried so desperately hard to find one positive per episode, and some weeks we were scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and even think of one. But to someone to watch this show and go, yeah, I got like a vast amount of enjoyment of that. As a Tolkien fan, I don't know how the two can coexist together. I'm always genuinely curious. I always want to put like them under a microscope and try and inspect the thought process, what's going on. But apparently it does have some fans out there, you know?
Some.
Yeah, not many.
Not many,
but some.
but some. I would just love to know how many views they've got and what that drop-off rate was. And like I say, you mentioned earlier on that I do have a little bit of a quiz going on. We'll be revisiting some of the well-earned characters in the show later on, well-developed, and you guys can just simply tell me what their names are without Googling, because we don't need Google for these characters. Or the Amazon fucking breakdown bit at the side of the episode. We don't need that bit.
Yeah.
But from a personal point of view, I think looking into each of the main players of this series in this season, I try and break down what their purpose was and go through their stories. And I think Isildur, what was his purpose? What did he do this season? He's one of the big players. He woke up in Shelob's lair. Somehow, from the volcanic eruption, he's landed in there. He's fought Shelob, which is absolutely baffling. Seems though he got battered by a small Shelob, yet Sam took on a big version and killed it. And then where did he go from there? He went and found his horse Beric, was it?
He went on a side quest to find his horse, who gets a name check later in the series as well, which was fucking hilarious when it just like pans to the horse who almost like nods to the group. And then along the way he meets Estrid. He gets swallowed by a nameless thing worm. Do you remember when that happened? That just suddenly popped into my head. I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. That's a meme image that I've seen floating around actually, where like he's just kind of sat there bewildered, like covered in mud, after being eaten by the nameless thing. And then there were Ents that showed up, and then they fucked off, and then he's in that like fishing village at the end, isn't he? And Kermit shows up and says they've got to pay the troll toll or something. They've got to send them timber every year when they come for collection. That's where it ended, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's Isildur. That's what 8 hours worth.
This is the guy who's going to cut the ring from Sauron's hand in the Third Age. Well, we're already fucking around with the timeline. You know, we've got Balrogs in Khazad-dûm right now. Let's just have the Last Alliance next season. Let's just totally fuck the timeline. Let's do Last Alliance next season. Then we'll do the Fall of Numenor afterwards. Screw it. Why not? Let's just shuffle it around.
Yeah. And that plot with Isildur and Estrid, like, she stabbed him in his leg and then he's fine. And then he jokes about it in the last episode, reminiscing over the weapon. And I'm like, what? Why are we wasting time on this? And don't forget, she tried to kill him, and she was an awful character as well. Her motivations didn't match up. She wanted to be free. She wanted to go back to her husband, but then she would constantly threaten Isildur and put herself back in danger. And then she got hit on the head by a rock, like an ent through her. And then at the end of the episode, her whole motivation was to go back to her people. And then it turns out she didn't want to. She wanted to go with Isildur, and she didn't love the guy who she was with because he's kind. What?
Yeah, she was an absolute hoe this season, wasn't she? Our introduction to the character, and the soundtrack at the end when they have that kiss, it tries so hard to be sweeping and majestic and romantic, and there is zero chemistry between these two actors. Both actors are awful in their respective roles. I don't know how much of that is down to their actual acting talent or lack thereof, or whether it's a directing thing, whether it's a script thing, or all of the above. Take a pick, throw a dart. But you just feel nothing. And that's not even that. But every relationship in the series, when it tries to have some kind of romantic connection, it's a bit Poppy and Rufio. I only know him by the name that we've assigned to him from Hook. So if that's one of your questions, I'm fucked. I can't
Yes.
remember his name. I think I do. It's like a mash. Yeah, I think it's like a mashup of Lord of the Rings characters, isn't it? But it's that love at first sight thing. I guess they're trying to do, but it felt like with Estrid and Isildur, they were trying to build something up, but you just never feel it. It's just the substance isn't there. And can you even remember her husband, her betrothed, or whoever it was? I don't even remember his character. Did he have a beard? Did he have like a great big bushy beard? I can't remember.
He was
Genuinely
in
can't
an
remember.
prison.
He was. Oh god, the fucking Empress.
It's one of them. Like, you're totally right with those relationships. Honestly, there's better build up in a porno because they're literally just straight away. They're in love straight away, and yeah, that guy. What was it? What was the point in him? So he stole Isildur's horse, and then what? And this is what I don't get. Was he part of the group that attacked Isildur, who was with Estrid at the time? So why didn't he find Estrid at that point? And I don't know. It's all a load of muck.
Well, Estrid had like a mark of Sauron, didn't she? That she tries to brand off and hide the fact.
Yeah, she never at one point said, "Look, I've ran away from them. They forced me to do this." By the way, I had no choice. I'm here now to get away. But Arondir doesn't want to know. He's just like, "Okay, you've got the brand. You're evil."
Yeah.
And I mean, another plot point for Isildur. He's somehow a father figure to Theo.
Oh god, yeah,
that
came out of nowhere, didn't it? At the very end.
Yeah, and I love the fact how now he's the Lord of the Pelagia. Somehow, he's the Lord.
Oh no!
And I loved how they banged on about he's Bronwen's son. You know, okay.
That whole continuation or lack of continuation for series 1 is probably one of the most hilarious things to me. Fair play to that actress. Like, she got out while the getting was good. I did hear on another stream somewhere that the actress said she wanted to take a break from acting. And I don't know if she was doing some like conservation activism kind of thing or something with wildlife or something. And she wanted to take a break from acting, but then she got other acting roles after all of that stuff, after the activist stuff. So convenient, like whatever you've got to do to get out of Rings of Power, fair play to her. And it wasn't just her as well. It was the original actor who played Adar, Uncle Benjen from Game of Thrones. All of them got a lucky break, as far as I'm concerned, getting out of there while the getting was good. I feel like they saw the writing on the wall. But the Bronwen thing is especially hilarious because she got peppered with all them poisoned arrows. We healed her, she was fine, and then just between seasons it was like, oh no, she got ill again and died.
Yeah, because that's Adar's whole plot for this season's the guilt that he's got, and it's like, you healed her in the last episode. She was fine. Do you remember that shot where you've got her, Galadriel, Miriel, Elendil all on that cliff, and they're all talking, and she's representing the Southland.
Yes, yeah.
And then the next minute she's died.
But what I don't get is, you recast Adar. Why not recast? If you want another strong female character in there, which Amazon, of course, loves to do all of the time, you could have kept a character in there. Change the actress up a little bit. I guess you've got to get an actress who has certain physical attributes that mirror the original actress, but I'm sure there's one out there that you could find. But yeah, it's just like they didn't know what to do with that character or the Southlands or anything, so Clang will just drop that plot arc. Not that I was particularly invested in that plot that they were conjuring at the end of season 1, but there was something that I just don't get, how we can recast Adar and we're fine with doing that, but Bronwen, no, we've got it, she's for the chop, basically.
Like, draw the line, and she's such a hero, apparently.
Yes.
Like, despite leading them away from a defensive tower and having them in a village on flat earth, it's really interesting. She's a brilliant character, and I love how they're bigging it up. They have this big funeral for her, and you just don't care. You take her out of the series, what you're missing. And you could say that for a lot of season 2. Take the stores out. What have you gained from them? That storyline.
We've had
Nothing.
2 whole seasons that try and tie up a mystery surrounding a character's name and identity, which we all knew from day one anyway. Two seasons for Gandalf to get his name and a staff. That's what that plot line. Fuck me, 2 seasons out of 5, and that's as far as like I genuinely don't. What are they going to do? They're going to have to actually like write a story for him now because he's just been fucking clueless and sort of bumbling his way around the Shire and the surrounding well, not the Shire, but the surrounding areas with the hobbits in season 1, and then he's dicking around Rune and Tom Bombadil to get a staff and a name. Great. What has that accomplished though? What have we really done with that? So it's just absolutely wasted screen time. And I do believe as well that I feel like a lot was on the cutting room floor surrounding the whole storyline, because you have the moth women, the moth hench women at the beginning in like episode 1, they just disappear, gone. You have the bounty hunters, the Tusken Raider characters, the masked guys in Rune. Nothing really happens with them. I think one just does he get thrown up against the wall, or he gets his throat slit in the last episode or something. So that storyline never went anywhere, and we never really did anything with. Sorry, I was going to say Saruman, the Dark Wizard. Are we going to build that up for another season of like his identity and his, my name is Saruman at the end of season 3 or something? Like, we know it just feels it's pointless. I would say, oh God, my question was going to be, what's the most superfluous storyline out of the whole of season 2? For me, it probably is the stores one. It's a tough, like, it's a tie between Isildur's storyline, because when we just explained it there and highlighted everything, I was like, yeah, well, we've barely moved the needle with that storyline. But honestly, I think I think like Poppy and Nori just absolutely just waste screen time. I'm like, we could be using this time elsewhere. And I feel like they're in a position now where they've written those characters out. They don't need to bring them back, but we've got that horrible feeling they're going to tie into this great Shire prophecy of the land of milk and honey for the hobbits, or whatever it's going to be. So yeah, it just you spend all this time in Rune and you do nothing with it. All this time we were wanting if they are going to push, we want multicultural Middle Earth and everything, and different races of elves and whatnot. Your one chance to do that within the world, in the actual world building, was to show off Rune and to show us some it could be like the Pentos sequences from Game of Thrones, where you spend a lot of time in in like King's Landing and stuff and Winterfell, and then we'll go over and see what Daenerys is doing in sort of like the Middle Eastern countries. You could have done that. We could have had huge provinces that alluded to in the book, but we never really see all that much. And we had like some really claustrophobic small sets, I feel. This is uniform. This was our criticism in season 1. Same in this. You cannot see the money on screen with this show. I just don't see it. From the costumes to how everything's shot and the effects and everything. Yeah, some of the stuff on the Balrog maybe, but even compared to stuff from like 2001, it doesn't even look as good as that. And this has way more money behind it. So yeah, the whole Rune stuff, I think you could have just removed from this series and you wouldn't have really missed a thing, to be honest.
My main issue with the Gandalf stuff as well is that he's got his purpose now. His purpose is to defeat Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
So what's he going to do when it all kicks off in Middle Earth, like for the last alliance? Like, why isn't he there now?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to explain that.
Fall of Numenor, yeah.
Yeah, why isn't he doing anything? Is he just stuck with Tom Bombadil for that whole time? And Anon said it, and I put the quote in my video, like, why does he need the staff?
Yeah.
When
yes,
he's so powerful without it.
He's floating boulders, and yeah, he's got all of his magic abilities already. Yeah.
And there's no euphoria for him to get the staff, because when he gets it because he's found it on the floor. And that's it.
Yeah.
And he gets his name because a fucking Rufio walking up, the only person that said it to him, goodbye, Grandalf.
Oh no, it was Mama Clump, wasn't it? Was it Mama Clump who says it?
No, it's Rufio.
Oh, is it actually Rufio? Okay.
I think they both might say it, but I think Rufio's the first one to say it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, that's his name. Bearing in mind, Poppy and Nori have been calling him the Stranger for the whole show. So
Mhm.
why hasn't he gone the Stranger and then made a name from that? No, it's Grand Alf. Like, what the heck?
Well, he gets a different name from like every province of people that he goes to. Like the dwarves have a name for him, the people in the south have a different name for him, the people in the east.
Yeah,
So,
because you got
is season 3 going to be him discovering what his name's going to be from the elves, Mithrandir, and then you've got the ones that the dwarves say. There you go. That's going to be Gandalf's storyline for the next 3 seasons. He's going to acquire his other names.
yeah.
Oh, and
What
then
he'll
in the
do is
final episode, he's going to find out that he's actually called Aloran.
yeah,
So,
he's a blue wizard, really.
yes,
You
yeah.
know. But what he'll do is he'll go to the elves, and then he'll be like, Mithril,
Oh,
Arondir,
yeah.
Mithrandir. Like, there you go. Great. And I mean, I know the actors, he's not really had much to play with, but I can't really look at him and go, that's my Gandalf.
No.
That's the new one. And the Tom Bombadil stuff, what a joke. What an
Mhm.
absolute farce. The fact that he's such a big player and he's so involved with Middle Earth and he's moved to Rune because he wants to fix Rune. What? And he's brought old man Willow there, and he's left Goldberry behind and he's singing about her, but it's in his head and then it's not in his head. It's like, okay, I don't know why you're doing this, but okay. And then you had probably the worst line that you had for Tom Bombadil when Gandalf saying he just wants to, I think, like, get Nori and Poppy back. He wants them to be safe. And he's like, he said the quote from the Fellowship of the Ring where he's saying, oh, what's the quote now? It's like, do not
Oh
deal.
God, yeah. It's the
Many
many
that
that
live.
die they've deserved it. Yeah, that one.
It's like,
Yeah.
what? That's sick. Like, he's
Yeah.
saying that he wants to help them, and he's just chucked that out. It's like, okay, if that's your theory, fair enough. But then why are you getting so involved and you want Gandalf to succeed and defeat Sauron if many that live deserve death, some that died deserve life? Why are you getting so involved? And again, what's his purpose going forward? Is that one and done? Is that his storyline over now?
Mhm.
Or are we going to have it where he's teaching Gandalf again for the next season? I don't know. But
That quote was, yeah, probably one of the low points. I think that cemented that as one of the worst episodes of season 2. But then we had a few more episodes which may have become the worst ones. Maybe the finale. I know we kind of discussed that. I don't know if we can really say which one was the worst, but certainly that Bombadil one, I think, for both of us was, this is a distinct low point, not just for this season, but for both seasons combined. I think it was just how angry it made us. And certainly whenever they keep using and cliffing lines from the Peter Jackson trilogy, that really angered me. And yeah, that Gandalf quote that Tom uses. So now I guess Gandalf's just, it's not his own wisdom. He's just, pillaged it from Tom Bombadil's wisdom, I guess. I felt like you could have just thrown a dart, though, in any Gandalf quote in that moment that Tom Bombadil could have said. Gandalf's like, but what am I to do? And then just throw it out, well, really, all you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you, innit? Like, you could do any Gandalf quote you can think of, just put in that situation.
that would
And
actually make sense more than
yeah,
that other one.
yeah.
He just comes across as a big dickhead, and it's like, why?
The Goldberry thing was so weird as well. Like, yeah, what are we trying to say with that? I'm going with the fact that Tom Bombadil has a split personality. I think he's like James McAvoy from Split, and he had his Patricia moment. That's what I'm going with in that situation.
But when
In
you
his
think,
vacation home in Rune, like what? So he's gone to help Rune. Why? Like, it doesn't. Again, I keep going back to the books. There's going to be no point me doing that. I think I'm just going to have to
yeah,
view whatever they're doing, even within the context of just the show, just the parameters of the show. It makes no sense. But if you are linking it to the book, I always thought that Tom Bombadil had like his little circle, his little perimeter of where his power lay, and it was within the old forest and the Barrow Downs kind of area. He's in Rune, and the stores are in Rune as well. Conveniently, everything's in Rune. Everything's kicking off over there. So Yeah, but we know the reason why he was in the show. It's the same as the Barrow Wights. We mentioned this, and the showrunners were very candid about this. It was that, oh, well, they hadn't been adapted yet, so we just threw them in there. That's not a reason to have them in the show. Yeah, I
I've
hate
got a
it.
question for you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
What has Tom Bombadil done in Rune? And how long's he been there? Because he's meant to be healing it. He's meant to be there to, fix it.
He's
What's
doing a
he
bang
done?
up job, isn't? Yeah, he's doing a bang up job of that, isn't he?
Like, seriously, what has he done? All he's done is he's created the Dark Wizard, apparently. He shaped him and just let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a gaff there.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And he's singing, and where do we find him? Is he like milking a goat or something? Is he tending to animals outside when we first see him, or hanging his laundry? I can't remember what he's doing when Gandalf finds him.
Oh.
He ain't doing much.
No.
And then you remember the last shot, he turns into Batman and he just fucking disappears mid-conversation.
Yeah, it's like, oh, wow. And remember, he turned Gandalf's letter into, was it a piece of bread?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
he did.
what?
I
What's
don't know
going
what
on?
I don't know what we're trying to do with Tom. I don't even think the showrunners know. They're kind of going in with this almost godlike ethereal being, which Tom never really was. He's powerful and he's intriguing and he's mysterious, intentionally so by Tolkien, but there's some theories out there that he is God, he is Eru Ilúvatar, but Tolkien was very verbal about that, saying no, that's not the case. But yeah, I don't know what we're doing with him turning things into bread and teleporting and reappearing and disappearing, throwing his voice like Goldberry. I don't fucking know. But he ain't jolly old Tom, is he? He was like proper like miserable and stoic and yeah, just
An activist. Our old Tom.
Yeah.
And I love how my favorite thing about Tom Bombadil was that end credit song from, I think it was episode 4, where it all went down. Gladriel's just been captured, and then now let the sun begin. It's like, what?
Yes.
And that editing choice was awful. And I just picture Tom Bombadil in the next season. It opens up with him on the back of Gandalf. They're doing flips in a bog. They're doing this
the
Yoda,
Yoda
Luke
thing, yeah.
story. But again, their storyline, Gandalf surely has to link into the Dark Wizard.
Mhm.
And that storyline's all messed up. Because in the last episode, the Dark Wizard's whole plot has been he wants Gandalf. He'll get him at force. He'll threaten the hobbits to get Gandalf. And then when he does have the opportunity to get Gandalf, he just says, right, you follow me back at my place. I'll be waiting. And then he goes, leaves Gandalf. What? What's the point in that plot? Like,
Yeah.
seriously, what was the point? And then we're probably going to get a showdown between those two within the next season, which I can't wait. And it will toy around with who's the Dark Wizard. That will be the point. They've got to figure out who the Dark Wizard is.
I think a lot got cut out because between episodes, the Dark Wizard's just there. Like that whole situation, how it begins in episode 8 is just so random, isn't it? Do you remember like Nori's being held hostage by the bounty hunter at knife point and Gandalf's just there with the Dark. I felt like it just threw us into that whole situation, and it didn't lead us there. So I don't know. I get the impression that a lot was removed from that whole storyline. Thankfully, because Christ Almighty, I didn't want to spend any more time there. But yeah, I keep saying this, but like you get Kieran Hines to play the Dark Wizard, or Saruman. Let's just call it for what it is, and you do nothing with him. Like that, you're just wasting that talent that you have. Even like Rory Kinnear as Tom Bombadil. Like Rory Kinnear's a pretty damn good actor. He's in a lot of BBC dramas and stuff. Of course, he's in the recent James Bond films as well, the Daniel Craig ones. And you get him to say these lines, and none of it's compelling, or it's just yeah. So yeah, I think you're going to have more of Saruman in the next series, and. If it is Saruman, which I think it is, because they allude to the whole fact that he's trying to have an alliance with Sauron already, that throws all the White Council stuff out the window, and that the whole events leading up to that point before Saruman's turn. It's just ridiculous. It was non-threatening, that whole story. Like, again, like the Mothwit, like things just come and go in this series, and just they either forget about it, or you'll have huge, like the Isildur stuff. You have Isildur, and then like 3 episodes go by, you get no Isildur. You've already forgotten what's happened with him because it's not engaging enough to remember. You know, it's just...
What was the point of the masked people?
Yeah,
seriously,
exactly.
you have this build up of them, all the mysterious, they're trackers and they're working for the Dark Wizard, but then the Dark Wizard kills one of them and they run off, and I totally agree there was something missing on the editing cut floor, because between those episodes you have this build up of them saying, right, we're going to fight the Dark Wizard no matter what, we're going to go and have at it. Then the next episode they're all captured. It's like, what? Like, why have you skipped that bit? It's the only bit that seemed interesting. And they just glossed over it. And then they've got beef with the Dark Wizard because the Dark Wizard isn't paying them. And then the leader dies. And then that's it. What was their purpose?
They mention earlier on in the series as well, the masked henchmen, that their flesh is cursed or something, didn't he say? That's why they wear, that's why they wear the masks, all of them. But Saruman has a whole host of moth women who are basically like wraiths, can materialize and dematerialize whenever they want to. I get the impression they can probably cover huge expanses of land very quickly when they turn into moths and like fly through the ether and whatnot. So they're there, and then he curses them because they let Gandalf go, or they didn't beat Gandalf, or they did some kind of blood magic to bring one back to life, don't they? Slim Shady, like, but then we don't do anything with them at all. They just disappear out of the show, like they were never there. And then he recruits some mortal henchmen who are completely incompetent and are never threatening and can't even capture the hobbits. We never see them do anything particularly threatening. And then they get dispatched at the end, and we never really get any more about them. And then you build up to your big finale with Saruman, and you get no information on him, not really much of a back and forth between him and Gandalf. And then he runs away like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, like, I'll get you next time, Gandalf, and then flees. And then the last shot of him is looking out of a window. And it just feels like the showrunners are just spinning their wheels. They don't know what to do with these characters. They're not telling a story. They don't have a story to tell for all of this stuff. It's almost like, oh, we'll just have them tread water for 8 episodes and we'll figure it out next season. And then next season rolls around and you just spin your wheels some more. It's like, oh, we'll do something with them in the next season. I genuinely don't think they have a plan. I don't think they know where these characters are going or what they're actually trying to tell with the Gandalf stuff. Case in point, as I say, 2 seasons, him having amnesia for most of season 1, not knowing his name, and then season 2, he gets a name and a staff of a character that we already knew. It's just absolute waste of time, complete waste of time. And the Saruman stuff, I don't even care. I don't even care anymore. I don't give a shit where it's going in season 3 if we're going to get more information. It's just, it feels like the Star Wars Acolyte thing. I may have compared it to this when we did our weekly streams, in that, and Disney Star Wars does this a lot. They'll always put like a tease for the next thing at the end, like a villain. At the end of Solo, you have Darth Maul on a hologram. I wonder where that storyline's going to go in the Solo trilogy. Cancelled. And they don't do anything with it, and they don't do another series. And then the Acolyte, we've got one shot of Plagueis in there, peering around a corner. We've got the back of Yoda's head. Can't wait to see where that leads into season 2 of the Acolyte. Cancelled. We're not going to do anything else with it. And it just feels like that. It's just, we've got like a tease for Saruman. You're excited. You're going to tune in again for season 3, where you're going to get like a tiny, tiny little bit more information, but it's not really going to amount to much. It's absolute waste of time, waste of screen time that we could be, moving that screen time to other stuff. Let's move it to the Numenor stuff. Let's flesh out our Farazan and the political intrigue over there.
Yeah,
or anything, anywhere.
But don't you want to see Poppy falling in love? Come on. One of
that whole scenario with him and his water cart, his introduction. Do you remember that?
Oh, don't remind me.
That was in the Bombadil episode, wasn't it? The one that angered us the most. It was that episode, wasn't it?
I think so. It was because they got sent to. They got fucking flown away in a twister, wasn't it? And the
Yeah, all the
mask
henchmen
guy.
died when
Yeah,
they were in the
yeah.
tornado, but they survived somehow. Again, off screen. We don't need to explain it.
Yeah, they survived. And I love how he'd been going to a certain village, nicking all of their water, hasn't been caught yet, and then
We
he
don't
has
see
the
that
high
village,
ground.
do we? Either we
No,
don't see that village. Was it like a village of men or something? So
yeah,
they're
it
all
was.
dying of drought now because this little fucker's robbed all their water. So.
You know, fucking gonna have Band-Aid over there, but like it's you
Bob
know
Grandelf.
that's a good one. I like that one. Fucking it's just pointless. Like you think of we've had 8 episodes of season 8 with Poppy and Nori. And what's their storyline been? So we find out at the end that they want to establish the Shire. Okay, that was literally you could establish that within one episode. You spent 8 episodes of a random character who we've only just been introduced, giving you your task for what you're meant to do. It's like, what?
I've got a
Why?
question for you. What is Nori's character? What can you tell me about Nori as a character?
Phew. She
She's kind of
there you go.
she's kind of nice and wants to help Gandalf for some reason. That's kind of she's just sort of there with him. There's no sort of like what does Nori want? As far as I can remember, if I remember the end of series 1, she was intrigued about the wider world and she wanted to see more of it. But we never get a scene where she's in the deserts of Rune. She's seeing these far off, wonderful places that are a million miles away from where she grew up. And there's never a scene where she like comments on the wonderful thing, these new places, these new environments, these new adventures that she's been on. There's no substance, there's no character, there's nothing to latch onto. And I don't know why Poppy is in this series. We didn't need her. It just felt like you want to sort of maintain that pseudo Frodo and Sam kind of dynamic into this one. But again, like Poppy, what can you tell me about her in this series? What is Poppy's arc to fall in love with Rufio straight away?
Well, it's even worse when you think about it, actually. So when we left them off in season 1, so it was Poppy's job to look after Nori's family, because you remember the dad's crippled and they've got a little daughter and they've got the mum, right? So it was meant to be Poppy would be helping them move the cart and that, because don't forget they're a society that if you fall behind, you're done. And
you don't live in a place
leaves.
for more than a month, right? Do they say they don't stay in one place for longer than a month, and then they have to move on?
Yeah, and she's left a cripple, a little girl, and this poor lady all together just to die. She's gone. I don't know why she's gone. And you think, why is Nori gone? She's all about family. Why is she gone? What? So that we get, this is why Gandalf loved Harfoots, he loved hobbits because of Nori. Brilliant, but yeah, Poppy, what was the point? You have this sad scene apparently at season 1 where it's like, they're not going to be reunited together, she's gone forever, but yet she comes back straight away in a stupid way. Do you remember it? Where it's like,
sort of. She just shows up. She's got a map, and she remembers like an old walking song or something that the Harfoots have. Is that right? Or something like apparently that Gandalf and Nori have been walking in circles, even though they're in Rune. So they have made progress. They're in the country. They're in the region they need to be. And Poppy's walked there all on her own, following them.
No food.
And says, you've been going in circles. There's a verse in this obscure Hobbit song which tells you the way to Rune. And I don't know, do they follow the stars or something? Second star to the right and straight on till morning? Or so that, well, there you go. That's where they find Rufio in Neverland. Yeah, okay, that checks out. Brilliant.
absolutely amazing. And again, just made up dross.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here we go. A song that we sung in season 1. This is its true meaning. It's like they just thought, okay, how can we make this make sense? Oh, they sung that song over there. Okay, right. This is gonna lead you on the fucking Goonies chase here. And like you say, she had no water, no food. You know, she's by herself. You've got the raiders that are tracking them. Nah, she's okay. She's fine.
Mhm. And
It's a
doesn't she lead
shame.
them like 10 yards over that way? And
Yeah.
just like a cliff edge, like, there you go. I'm like, they were
No,
walking that way anyway. Like,
no, it's
we're...
worse, man. Because they were pulling Gandalf, weren't they? Because I think he dropped from dehydration, and
Oh,
Poppy
that's
all
right.
of a sudden knew where this well was.
Yeah, the
Like, just
magical
ran
well
to the
that just...
cliff and like, there you go. There's a well there. What?
So why didn't Rufio nick the water from the... Was that the water that he nicked, or did he actually go into like a populated village or something and steal all their water?
He must have been in a populated village because they flew fucking miles away from Gandalf. It's
It's like, looks like Team Rocket's blasted off again. Ping, and then yeah, just new place, reset the storyline. We need them here now. So
I just love that as well. That point where it was like Gandalf's all about finding his friends. Yet when they got chucked away, he was like, "Okay, I'm going to go and fulfill my quest. Just let's
that's...
leave them."
Yeah, how far did they blow away? Let's just think about the logistics of this, because if they went miles and miles and miles into a completely different region with a whole different, race of people with the stores there, well, they fall to the ground and splat like they're dead. But like once like the hurricane doesn't go on for that long, does it? When he loses his mind, Gandalf. Like surely they'd just be over there, like a little bit, like a couple of meters away, maybe.
Oh,
Like
they've
why are
got
they
Nenya.
suddenly in a different place? I don't get it.
Is that maybe they're wearing Nenya and full damage just
Oh
doesn't
yes,
exist?
that's
Oh,
what gets me about like Galadriel's cliff fall. Oh God, when I just say
oh
that.
God.
Cuts to a wide shot, hits terminal velocity, and I think what they want you to think is that the trees broke her fall. Like when it pulls back to the wide shot, there's trees there, still a long way fucking down. I'm like, she is just like going to be completely torn to shreds by branches, but okay. But it's not really when they gather around with the Elven Rings of Power to resurrect her. It's not really pertaining to the fall from the cliff. It's more the stab wound from the crown that she suffered from the top. There's nothing regarding the fall damage. Like it should just be just a stain. It should just be strawberry jam on the floor. Maybe they use the rings and she reanimates like Flumpy Sauron, sludgy Sauron, whatever we're calling him at the beginning.
Do you know what I
Venom
love?
symbiote Sauron.
We'll go on Galadriel because I've got a load of points about
Sure.
Galadriel. But the one thing I will say in relation to that is I really don't get how she fell right. And Sauron just didn't pursue her. He didn't jump. He didn't transform
Right.
into a bat or anything. He didn't flump his way down the mountain. He just let her go.
Why couldn't he have
Why?
created an illusion of him taking the ring? And then that would confuse Galadriel, and then he could just like take the actual thing.
Yeah. And
Oh, it's because there's no windows. That's right. Because like his power can only be contained when there's windows present, right? Yeah.
like, why doesn't he use the force to stop her from falling? Like,
There's a million and one things he could have done to get that ring. The only way that I can sort of square it is, oh God, I can't believe I'm comparing this to Empire Strikes Back. God, I actually feel like dirty just saying this, but people say, well, Vader can use the Force. Like when Luke throws himself off, why couldn't he just force pick him back up? But I get the impression that Vader was conflicted, and maybe part of him even wanted to let Luke get away a little bit. And I honestly think that's the same thing here, because we see Sauron, he's crying in this series. He's emotionally torn up. He loves Galadriel. He's infatuated with her. So I think it was, I'm going to let you live another day. It's fine. And he's just going to let her go. Which makes no sense for his motivation and what he actually wants to achieve. But we're trying to ship this whole Galadriel and Sauron thing now for 2 seasons straight. I think they're just going to keep doing that.
100%. And before we move on to Galadriel and that, do you want to guess 2 characters?
Oh, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. So everyone playing at home, I'm going to try not to look at the comments. By the way, all the comments that have come in, I will get to them at some point, but I'm going to try not look at the comments right now while answers are coming in. Go for it. Who's the first character? So remember, you got to get the name of the character without Googling. This is just from memory.
Right, here we go.
I think you're going to be going obscure with this. I've got a feeling.
The first set are not too bad.
Okay.
First ones aren't too bad.
Oh, God. She's got like I want to say Mama Clump because that's what I've been, a name I've assigned to her. She's got like a combined Lord of the Ringsy name as well, hasn't she? If I'm remembering rightly. Am I correct in that? I'm probably totally way off with that.
Wow. I'll give the audience some time, but no Googling.
Oh, God.
No Googling at home. Because you should know her already. She's a main player.
Oh! I remember what you said on one of the streams. It's like a really evil sounding name. It's like it sounds like Gundabad. It's like Gundabadul. Gundalady. Gundaclump.
Close.
I know I'm in the right ballpark, but I just actually I can't remember it. Let's see if we got Dirty Sanchez says Tina Turner. We don't need another hero. Yeah, it is like Mad Max. It's like the Lost, what do you call them? The Lost Boys, whatever they're called in that. It's not Gundabad. It sounds like Gundabad. Gundastore. Fuck it, Gundastore. That's not the name. I can't remember it. Gummy Bear. Anon says Gummy Bear.
Right.
Got to put me out of my misery. This? Yeah.
Well, you were all close. It was, in fact, and I'm angry that you guys don't know about this. It is Gundabal.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm
going to give myself half a point for that because I was
the very fair sounding store, Gundabal.
Yeah.
All right, the next one, and this will be the last one for this section. There we go.
I do remember this character's name. Someone did mention it in the comments earlier. He came back to me. It's the amalgamation name, isn't it? So that's Merrimack. Or as hang on, let me find it. Where was it? There we go. Merry Mac and Cheese, which is my favorite. Fucking hell! Look at that. Look at the state of that.
Do you know what I love as well? Do you remember the marketing for this actor? They tried to play it off like this actor was going to be playing Sauron. I don't know if you saw any of this.
Oh, was this like the Middle Eastern actor where it said he's going to be? Yeah, and it was we were going to shapeshift with Sauron. Was it that same actor?
Yeah, it was. This guy was rumored to
God,
play
what did they
Sauron.
do to him?
Just imagine him like on social media. He's thinking, "Oh, everyone wants me to play Sauron," and then look at what I've been given. Amazing. Just look at him, and I can confirm you are right. It's Merrimack.
Merry Mac and Cheese. We got Rufio.
Absolutely amazing.
Look at the actual state of that, though. I remember when he showed up in the series, I thought, right, all credibility for this show's gone. You've got $1 million. These are the costumes. That's the look. That look was okayed. You filmed that with everyone present on set, and no one said, maybe this looks a little bit silly. Maybe we should rethink this design just a tad. Awful.
That's 50 mil an episode for you.
It's like a bad theatre production. I've seen theatre production. Hell, there was a theatre production of The Lord of the Rings. There was a Lord of the Rings musical on the West End, like many, many years ago now, in like the late 2000s. Fucking better than this with the costumes.
Absolutely awful. And again, what was his point?
Yeah.
Apart from looking stupid.
Well, apparently it was to give Gandalf his name, wasn't it?
Oh, just think of that. Gandalf got his name because of Merry Mac and Cheese.
And then Poppy does her Samwise Gamgee speech.
Oh God.
That hurt.
Oh,
That scene hurt. That was agonizing. That part where they were trying to do that. Just don't. Just don't stop, please. Get some help.
I think. I mean, I think it's probably a good point to ask. What was your highlight of season 2?
Highlight of season 2. Oh my god. I want to say like, are we talking about a scene or can I say like a performance of a character?
Ooh, I will go scene.
Jesus
Make it tough.
Christ. I'm actually trying to remember shit like that. That's the thing. This show just, it's gone. No staying power at all. Oh, I'm not even being facetious right now. I'm genuinely struggling
Well,
because I'm thinking maybe like the Balrog when it breaks free, like that shot. But that's more of a shot because then you have the stupid moment where you have the "It's a me, Mario," and he does like the jump with like the axe in slow motion. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
I don't know. What have you got? I can't think of one. I genuinely can't think of one.
Well, there's one that comes straight into mind.
Oh god.
Waldrig beating up Sauron.
Oh god. Yes. Sorry. Yes. There you go. I second
Apology
that.
accepted. Just
Captain
remember that
Gideon.
happened in episode 1, by the way. Madness, isn't it? That the proper big game player is our Waldrig, who still hasn't opened the message, but he's got an email.
No.
He's got a professional email, and I want to email him.
Do
So
it. Have you tried the email yet?
not yet, but
That could be the one.
we need to get onto it. Apparently, he's a really good artist as well. So hey ho, he he remapped the Southlands, so
Yeah.
go and check out his work. But that was probably my favorite. But unironically, I don't know, to be honest.
It's
I
so
don't think
difficult,
I've
isn't
got
it?
one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because you think the whole showrunners, they put everything on the battle. 2-episode battle sequence. It's going to rival Helm's Deep. This is going to be amazing. This is going to put us on the map. This is going to be what they remember us for. And it was awful. It was probably one of the worst episodes. Like there was no sense of scale of the armies, the geography of where everyone was, people getting stabbed, and then they're okay the next episode. It was terrible. You had a whole cavalry charge, and then they just stopped. Horses way at the fucking back. That's not how a cavalry charge works. If someone says stop at the front, they ain't hearing it over the thunder of hooves at the very back. Even if they are an elf, I know they have keen eyesight. Maybe they have like good hearing as well, but not that good. And it was terrible. So I can't even think of like just a generic battle sequence. Then you think of like Celebrimbor and stuff, and it's just all hilarious. It's like a pastiche. It's like a comedy. I think it was Anon earlier mentioned that he was enjoying watching the series purely for comedic value. But if you're talking about like actual artistic merit, like something that you were like, yeah, that was amazing. That was exquisite. They got that right. Because even the Hobbit films, like, there's a shower of shit in Peter Jackson's Hobbit movies across the trilogy. But there's some absolute fucking gems that you can look at and go, that scene, they absolutely nailed it. The riddles in the dark, the inside information sequence, there's quite a few across the trilogy, but this I genuinely can't. I'm not even doing it to be a dick or to be contrarian or anything like that. It's so difficult to find anything good in this series.
Yeah.
It's like because I was going to say the performance of King Durin, which I know we've mentioned a few times, but I believe him like as a dwarven king. I thought he brought like a good intensity to the character, like an unpredictability. And for what he was given, you've got to act like you're going out of your mind, that you're becoming covetous and violent and everything. I thought he played it very well. The guy does have like an intimidating quality about him. Even though he's a dwarven character, he does have that kind of regal quality to him. But beyond that, beyond a single performance, I can't. I don't think I can.
There was one bit. I think it was in episode 1 with Círdan and Auron. No, I think it's when we first get introduced to Círdan, And I really liked the music and the shots were quite nice. And that I'd probably say, unironically, that was probably my favorite bit. But when you think about this, Poppy and Nori had more screen time than Kierdan
And what did
in
Círdan
season 2.
do? Honestly, like they bigged this character up so much. He was bearded in the first episode, and then I think we only saw him very briefly in a second episode. He was clean shaven. Is that where you have like the weird fish moment where he like fish bends under the water? What
Yeah.
was the bit? Was that Gil Galad's vision where he had the? You remember it was like stock footage, and you had like dead fish or something. Do you remember that scene? That was weird. I think
Yeah.
that was Gil Galad, wasn't it? That one.
But
Yeah.
all he did was, like you say, he's the wisest of all people. That's why Elrond went to him.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to destroy the rings, and then he had a shave. That was it. Do you remember that iconic scene?
Well, he sends Círdan away in a boat, right? And we see Círdan on the ship. But then Círdan, did he double back to hand the rings off to Gil-galad, or did he actually? I can't remember. Did he sail to somewhere different?
Well, he must have. Well, I don't know. I don't know because he ended up in Linden. Was it within that same episode?
That's what I mean. People teleport all over the place, don't they? During the battle sequence, Elrond teleported between like 4 different places. Between Khazad-dûm, and then he was back on the battlefield, and then he was leading a cavalry charge, and yeah. Anon says that I think they did a good job with Círdan. Well, I mean, the actor was fine, but like, it's kind of like our Pharazôn. The amount of screen time they get and what you get is just so negligible. It's not even worth mentioning, really. I couldn't tell you anything about him, really. Círdan was there, and he was fine, but he only had like 2 scenes.
Yeah, 100%. I
Dirty
wanted to
Sanchez
see
says
more.
his favorite scene when Adar says to cut Galadriel's throat if she won't shut the fuck up. That's fair. That's a fair choice.
But just think, right? Círdan's one of the ring bearers, and we've had nothing of him this season. Yet we've had Poppy and Rufio's love story.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, madness. Absolute madness.
Apparently, he was about to throw the rings overboard, but got entranced by the rings, so came back to convince Gil-galad to keep the rings.
Wasn't it like the water just like jumped up, and then he just left it after that?
I genuinely can't remember. If you hadn't reminded me about Círdan, I'd be like, oh yeah, he was in this series. Just totally forgot about him. But let's talk about. I mean, I don't know if as I say, I don't have a plan for this, but how towards the beginning of this series, Elrond is the only sensible character that's actually calling Galadriel out and sort of Gil-galad the situation. They have these 3 mystical rings that are kind of surrounded by bad shit. They know that, like, Sauron was around, and that kind of prompted the creation of the rings. It's all uncertain. They have all these magical, larger-than-life abilities. And Elrond's drawing reference to this, saying, like, these rings are probably bad, and we shouldn't use them. He's calling Galadriel out on not mentioning Sauron or waiting all this time to mention it. Like, what good reason do you have? And she just deflects, and she gaslights, and tries to make him to be the victim, that he's the problem. And honestly, for the first part of this series, I was on Elrond's side all the way through this. And then you get the awful kiss scene, which is actually probably my least favorite scene of the whole of season 2. That was like the biggest middle finger to Tolkien ever. I can't believe, I can't even begin to fathom how that was filmed. There was an idea there and got put in the show. But Elrond, I was on his side through like a good majority of season 2.
Yeah, but what they did is they made it out like he was wrong, and he ended
apologizes, doesn't he?
Yeah, he uses the ring to save Galadriel.
Yeah.
I mean, that lawbreaker's a force, making the rings fucking a revival kit.
We knew it was coming when that elf took that arrow to the stomach and she heals him. You were right. You said it's a Rey Skywalker moment. It is exactly that same thing. You set it up earlier with some kind of bullshit occurrence. It's the snake or whatever it is in Rise of Skywalker. And then you pay it off again at the end with everything that happens at the end of Rise of Skywalker. But if you're gonna steal, fucking hell, steal from something better than Rise of Skywalker. Jesus Christ.
But I think coming back to Elrond, his plot in this season has just been awful, to be honest. Like I say, you start off rooting for him because he's right. Why should they keep the rings when Sauron has worked on them? And this is where you had the issue of them doing the Elven rings first. In the lore, they create those rings in secret last, not first, because you have this issue of, okay, Sauron's helped you create them. Why are you using them? But they still choose to use them. And, what I don't get is he jumped off a cliff to try and destroy the rings. He was that desperate to get them away, and he survived that as well. But he doesn't make any effort to try and get them back afterwards. Like, once everyone's got them on, he doesn't try and desperately grab them or do anything. Galadriel even gives him his her ring, and he doesn't do anything. Like, and there's been many points in this season with Elrond, with the Barrow-wights. He knew what Barrow-wights were. He knew where they were. He knew how to defeat them, yet he told no one. He got an elf killed.
Yeah, exactly. He waited until the end of the confrontation to say, I know everything about Barrow-wights. There is an ancient law book that I read that tells them they can only be killed with their own weapons. Whatever it was. Yeah. God, ridiculous.
Like, awful. And that was that whole episode was to show how Galadriel was just undermining him and not listening to him. Literally every command he gave, she said no. When he said, we need this amount of warriors, she's like, no, we need an extra one. And he chose the wrong path that got someone killed, and she got captured because of his decisions. And you look as well, I don't know how this works actually. So in the show, Elrond is a politician. He's not a commander. So how the hell is he leading Gil-galad's army in the Battle of Eregion? How? He's not a commander. They've established that they do have commanders. So why is he in charge?
I don't even know how Gil-galad is leading Gil-galad's armies either. Because, when we see Gil-galad, he's kind of this frumpy dad bod. Like, he's just so miserable, monotone, nothing. I can't really say anything about Gil-galad. Like, when I think of Gil-galad, I don't think of High King Gil-galad who's going to lead the troops to a glorious victory. I see frumpy Gil-galad in that one set that he's always in next to that tree, just kind of pottering around. That's every single time. And then you get those shots in the battle with like the awful editing and dwarves, which is one of my favorite scenes. He actually, you know what? He probably gets my favorite line. Like, I just that moment, that line delivery lives rent free in my head since that finale episode.
You know what? Gil-galad's a fucking idiot as well during this season. I hated him. I'm sorry for the strong language, but it's true. Just think, he gives out no consequences. You look at Elrond. So he stole the rings from Gil-galad. Gil-galad ordered him to give him, and he jumped off the cliff, and they had to go and get them back. And what's Elrond's punishment? His punishment is to lead his army into battle. That's his punishment. Doesn't get a tallying off. He doesn't get a ticking off. He's promoted, apparently. Galadriel, who's caused all this mess, who didn't tell anyone who Sauron was, and she caused, possibly the destruction of the elves. No, she doesn't get a tallying off. What?
We can't make her accountable, because that will show weakness. She's got to be just like a fucking bullheaded and always right. We can't have a scene where Galadriel gets chastised or gets called out for her bullshit in her actions.
100%. And then he's constantly during the season saying, they're ready to send their troops to where is it, Mordor, and then they're not, and then he doesn't want to send troops to Eregion to kill Sauron, and then he does. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I love how this is the guy, who was so willing to abandon Eregion. It's such a big region, and he just was willing to give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Just, he was awful, and you couldn't even tell that he was in the battle.
No, exactly. I completely forgot. And then you kind of become aware of it again, where he and Elrond and Arondir's also there. The bit where the orcs say they're going to burn all of Celebrimbor's works. I'm like, oh yeah, Gil-galad is there. But in that main battle episode, yeah, totally just blended in with everyone else completely. And the look of the armor as well. This is uniform across all the show, all the provinces. The armor looks terrible. The costume design. I mean, he's the worst offender of the worst costume design in the entire series. But you've got the Moob armor from from Numenor. You've got just Gil-galad's armor. It's just you look at the Lord of the Rings films, and one thing that I love everything about those films, but how you can just look at a set of armor and it looks like it's actually been made. It looks ornate. You can tell which culture it is just by looking at the armor, and it fits that province of people completely. And you look at like the Last Alliance armor and the High Elven armor, and it's all ornate and wonderfully constructed. And then you look at Elrond's helmet or Gil-galad's helmet and the fucking what's he called, Narvi.
Oh God! Oh, we'll come on to him in a bit.
I'm saying Narvi. It is Narvi, isn't it? I'm saying Narvi. I'm thinking Avatar. Yeah, it is Narvi. Yeah. And he comes like trundling in like this fucking like dustbin lid, like coming in, like, oh my God, $1 billion show. It looks terrible. It looks awful.
100%. And I've got another point about Gil-galad, which I completely forgotten about in season 1. That with Galadriel, do you remember that he sent her away to Valinor? So he stripped her of the title of commander of the Northern Armies, and during that time she swam back. She swam from Valinor to Numenor, and then she
just so happened to find that raft.
Yeah, she survived the dark fire of the Mount Doom and all that. But somehow during that time, he didn't select another leader of the Northern Armies. He just kept Galadriel's position, and she just came back, and then she's leader of the Northern Armies again. And then the leaders are stupid, like their debate. Do you remember that scene where they're talking about invading Mordor, and as soon as Galadriel says one line saying, "Oh yeah, we'll attack them via the Anduin," and they're like, "Okay, yep." Do you remember the scenes in like Game of Thrones where they're talking the logistics,
strategy, and
yeah. With this, it's just like, yeah, Galadriel says so. Yeah, she's the leader of the Northern Armies.
Every time you mention like the volcanic eruption, I'm like, oh fucking hell, that was like the worst thing ever in like season 1. And they do refer to it again. I can't remember if it's Isildur or Elendil, and they go like, I survived a volcanic explosion or a volcanic eruption or something. I was like, stop drawing reference to it. It was so dumb. Why do you keep bringing it up again? It was so bad.
He's like, was it Valendil? Isildur's mate even said it, like, Muriel led us through the Inferno, and I'm like, oh, it's his fault. Like that, you shouldn't be using that as your argument.
Yeah.
But Galadriel again, just another waste of a character when you think about what she's done.
Mm-hmm.
In this season, didn't tell anyone about the rings. She seemed corrupted by the rings actually straight away. We had her chasing Elrond.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
By the way, this was during one day. She chased Elrond from Eregion to Lindon, which I'd love to know the distance because I doubt it's a day's ride. But they chased them there, and then she faced no repercussions. The thing that actually, I think this is the thing that pissed me off the most about the show. The thing that angered me was the fact that she told Celebrimbor not to have any dealings with Halbrand. Don't work for him, don't let him in. But she didn't tell him that he's Sauron.
Yeah, it's just left that part out, yeah.
And I love how he's not gone, okay, why?
Imagine
You
if it
know,
was on like a postscript or like a PTO at the bottom, and he just forgot to do it. It's just on the back of the paper. Oh, by the way, he's Sauron.
yeah, 100%. Like, he never questions it. And she never. Why would she withhold that information? If her whole point of this season was saying, Sauron is going to be joining up with Celebrimbor, she knows apparently, and she just doesn't tell him.
And the season never gives us a compelling reason as to why she never told anyone. They refer to it, and it's almost like they hamstring themselves by doing that, because they refer to it, which brings the question up in your own mind, the viewer, and you're like, well, fuck yeah, like, why didn't she mention it? And they just don't give you an explanation, and she'll just go, well, you're the problem, Elrond, and the conversation leaves that point. It never comes back to that central focal point that all of this, everything that transpired, could have been circumnavigated had Galadriel actually told people that he was Sauron right from the get-go.
Yeah. It just screws the whole season.
Yeah.
It really does. And it's one point I can't get past, because you don't have the scenes with Celebrimbor. You don't. If he says, Luke, you're not allowed in. And again, Galadriel, man, we keep on having these visions with the ring. Is it Sauron or is it the ring that's corrupting her? And she loves Sauron still. She's still attached to him, and she never takes accountability. She's never like, this is all my fault. Like in the episode with Celebrimbor, I think it's the second to last episode, when they're in the courtyard and Celebrimbor, I think, apologizes for all of this, what's happening, and not once does Galadriel go, no, it's my fault, I should have told you.
Yeah.
She's just like, okay. And this is the person who has spent years and years and years, hundreds of years, trying to kill Sauron, just lets a crippled Celebrimbor go and tackle him while she goes away. Like, what? Like, awful, man.
They kept saying that this season, like, Galadriel was going to change. We were going to see a lot less angry, a lot less self-centered Galadriel. And I'm sorry, but like, they didn't live up to that promise as of episode 1 of season 2, as far as I'm concerned. She was worse than ever. It's almost like they doubled down. They're still doing the whole like warrior Galadriel moment. She takes on a whole platoon of orcs herself. She has a fucking one-on-one fight with Sauron, the Maiar Sauron, in hand-to-hand combat. Falls off a cliff. Is resurrected now in like regal white. They're not going to do this because they still want girl boss Galadriel. But I was wondering if now she's been resurrected at the end, is she going to be like the less cunty version of Galadriel now? Perhaps can we have like normal Lady of White, demure Lothlorien Galadriel now that she's been resurrected? Sort of like a Gandalf the Grey into Gandalf the White, that he is the same person, but the personality is different. Can we just have a personality transplant now in Galadriel, please? Because I need one, because I don't even want to say I hate Morfydd Clark. Like, she's probably said some questionable things in some interviews, but I don't really have an opinion on her as a person, but I know that she's terrible as Galadriel, and just the way that she plays it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you could play it in a different way from what she's given. This is what I mean. I don't know if they're bad actors inherently, or if it's just they're only as good as their material. But she's insufferable. Like the facial expressions as well. It's just, they always make for great thumbnails, though. I will say that.
Oh yeah, we had some crackers in the last episode.
Nothing's as good as the slow motion shot with the horse in season 1. I think that's still probably my favorite. The Gurnin face in slow motion. But
we did have one horse shot with her when she was running, that ripped off the Fellowship of the Ring to open the season on. But I agree. I don't think she's going to be a silly Billy to start off with in this season. I think she will be so humble. And it'll be like, okay, you've had thousands of years to be humble. And now is your chance, now's your time. And I just think her character's just so broken already. Everyone just worships her ground, that she walks on. And I don't know where they can go with it because she still needs to find Celeborn. Where's he? Like, that's going to be a plot in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
know,
feel
she's
like it has to be. I thought it was going to be in this season. I thought it was going to be that he'd been like held prisoner and he was like a shell of his former self, and no one's even mentioned him since. Does he get a mention in season 1? I don't think he even gets a mention in season 2, does he?
no, no, not one mention.
It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Oh, but we can have a kiss scene between, mother-in-law and son-in-law. That works.
It's like that. You know, people were saying, oh, they had to do it for a distraction so that he can slip her the pin. He slips her the pin. I think it was before that. Like,
I think he wanted to slip her something else, judging from that scene, to be honest. But
the Lady of Lorien, not anymore. But like I say, why did they have that? And I had people saying to me, like, he had to do it, it's just the best comment I saw was, it's just like the kiss between Mary and Frodo and the hobbits at the end of Return of the King. I think I sent you the quote and I was like, shut the fuck up.
yeah.
Like a cheeky peck on the head compared to a full-on tongue. There's a difference. And they built it up that apparently they've got this tension between them, this sexual tension. It's like, what have we got out of them this season? They both don't like, well, Elrond really doesn't like Galadriel at the moment because she's using the ring. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so where are we getting this tension from?
Well, the thing is as well, like, if they did want to play that as a distraction scene, how the scene's composed, how it's directed, the shot choices and everything, there is a way that you could go about that. I would still hated it. Like, he shouldn't be planting his lips anywhere on Galadriel, as far as I'm concerned. But if you were going to do that scene, there's a way that you could have done it. There's a way that you could have shot it and framed it as a distraction. But you get like the slow-mo hand at the side of the face. You have Galadriel's eyes kind of rolling into the back of her head. You have the swell of the soundtrack, this huge romantic moment, which has had no build-up, by the way. I think in season 1, they kept referring to each other as friends. I think she said, "You're like a brother to me" at one point, which makes the scene even more uncomfortable than it already is. And like the close-up of the kid, no, there is no way that you could watch this and go, this is like a platonic kiss or anything like that, or a distraction. And the very fact that these people, these fans, compare it to the fucking ending where Frodo's about to sail into the West and is saying goodbye to his friends, it angers me so much. Like, when someone comes up with that as a justification, have you seen the South Park movie? Longer uncut. I just want to slap them. You know, when Brooke Shields like says something, Terrence and Phillip just stare at her and then just like fucking slap her. I just want to do that. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Stop talking about stuff that you know not of. Please do us a favor.
And just think of, she got captured during that scene, and while she's in captured, whilst Adar has her as a prisoner, she literally goes and tells Adar all of the plans. It's like, Elrond's traveling to Lindon and he's got a magic ring, and and I'm thinking, why the hell have you done that?
Yeah.
And Adar's like, I
Tell
see.
me more. Tell me more.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, right, fuck you. We know the plan. We're gonna work on it. And she was just so stupid. She's an idiot. She really is. And like I say, she goes and fights Sauron after she wanted to team up with Adar again. And then she gets Morgoth's crown. Do you remember that one? That went around Morgoth's neck as a collar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that one's a crown now, and she gets impaled by it, and she survives and falls off and survives. And that is our Lady of Light. That is our Galadriel. Amazing.
I hate, speaking of Morgoth real quick as well, Morgoth's crown, what I really hate as well is that we can't just have villains who are inherently evil, that are evil incarnate. They've always got to be misunderstood. It's like this really strange kind of non-accountable, narcissistic kind of approach to a lot of the characters in this. They're all very selfish, like out for themselves, or you can't just have a villain who is just evil. Everyone's got a toe line that. You got to have sexy Sauron. Oh no, he's misunderstood. Oh no, I can change him. But he's like, it was Morgoth who tormented me, and I just wanted to break free of Morgoth, and I just wanted a sense of peace. And it's always it's Morgoth's fault. It's Morgoth's fault that I'm evil. I'm not evil. I hate that. I hate that we're trying to do this with Sauron, and all these moments where he's trying to he's besotted with Galadriel of all people. I don't know. It's a small point, but I just really hate that. It's not because Morgoth and Sauron were in league with each other. They were like thick as thieves, as far as I'm concerned, from the Legendarium. And now it's like, oh no, now Sauron was the whipping boy. He was like the slave basically to this evil overlord, and he's just misunderstood. I don't know. I just really hate that.
Yeah, same. And and
then he cries. Sauron, the Lord of Darkness, cries. God Almighty.
Oh, we'll go on to Sauron in a minute. But do you want another game?
Yes, let's get a couple more characters in. Let's do it. Right, everyone playing at home. It's all to play for.
Right.
What have I got? I've got one at the moment.
It.
Yeah,
you've got one.
Got one.
But here's one that I'm gonna have to double check their names, which is always a good start.
Come on, Quizmaster.
Right, let me put them on. No Googling. There's 4 characters in shot for this one.
Okay.
Right. Name them.
God, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Dude, that is impossible. There is no way that I can name these characters. I'm right. I'm zeroing on the Asian elf, because she's the one who has like the last stand, and she's bigged up as like the greatest thing ever. She's going to turn the tide of the battle. Was it like the battle can be turned with one arrow? And then he says her name, and I can't remember what her name is. Oh, Jesus Christ. No, I'm drawing a blank on this. It's funny how the Black Elf dies first, though, in this whole scenario. It's like, Amazon, you had one job here and you failed.
Oh, that's he impossible. Has a name.
I'm sure he does.
I was like, why name him? He doesn't even speak, does he, within the show? But let's go with
pub quiz question right here.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Have we had any guesses? Because I don't know these from my head. I'm gonna have to pull it up.
I'm trying to think of that elven chick's name. What is an elvish sounding name?
I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
Don't think of an elven name.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Do you want a clue?
Sure. Yeah, Dirty Sanchez has literally no idea. Yeah, no, I'm stuck on this one.
It begins with the letter R. R for reindeer.
Ray. I'm just thinking of Ray Skywalker now. Dude, I got nothing.
Come on, this is one of your big game players.
I know.
She broke the siege engine.
She pulls a fucking arrow out of her and fires it back. Okay. Don't think of an elven name. I'm trying to think of like an There's a lot of dills and like Arwen, Wens and dills that usually finish an elven name. Relendil. I'm thinking of Idriel now. I'm thinking of the Third Age video game. Genuinely no idea. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right. So with that one,
0 point, nil point for me. How's everyone doing at home on these 4 incredibly memorable characters, pivotal characters in the story? What even happened to the 2 on the left?
So
the black guy died. The elvish chick died from getting peppered with like 10 arrows, just like Celebrimbor. But I don't. One of the other guys got stabbed, and then he was fine.
Yeah, so he just disappears, the one in the middle.
Yeah.
He just goes, but the other one is actually in the the end shot that you've got for your thumbnail. He's at the bottom with
Oh,
all
is he the one
the
like
injured elves,
yes?
and he's like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
But again, I didn't have a clue who their names were. But do you want to know them?
Go on.
So we'll go from left to right. So our
Steve.
first ginger elf, Steve over here, is called Vorrohill.
Okay.
Ooh, he's an established character. Do we even get a name mention?
I don't remember it.
No. Awful. The middle one, I don't even know how to pronounce this one. Camnir.
Camnir.
Yeah, bleed Camnir close to his heart, that arrow. But then we have the elf that is definitely not got an elven name. We have Ryan or Rian.
Oh, that was it. We said Ryan Johnson, didn't we?
Yeah. That elf that did such a big battle move in the last episode.
That was my favorite edit of that. How Elrond like fucking psychs her. He bigs her up, doesn't he? He gets her all G'd up for the battle. He's like, "You can turn the tide of this battle. You can lead us to glorious victory, Ryan. Like, believe in yourself. Charge!" And he just turns around instantly. She's got like 10 arrows in her.
It's like shit. It's like
that bit
pincushion.
Monty Python. Message for you, sir. Like,
oh, mate, Elrond's running was like the Monty Python sketch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry going off topic, but I loved how him taking off his cape gave him that little bit of extra speed. Like, why didn't he do that at the beginning?
It was the drag shoot, wasn't it? Well, I mean, he already covered like serious ground, even with it. Like, Christ, he's like the Flash. He's like the Flash of Middle Earth.
I just love how they showed that, man. But here we have our last elf, which I'll give you one more guess. And for those at home, because I'm generous.
Give us the starting letter for this one.
D.
D's nuts. Say Daryl. That's Damrod, Danduil, Delrond, Delboy.
You'll kick yourself, I'll tell you that.
Darahill, Daerendil, fucking hell. Dan.
Right. I'm
Dave.
sorry.
Dave. Is it Dave? Dave the elf.
I'm going to have to call it there.
Okay.
We have Daymore.
Sure.
No joke.
Absolute fucking Tolkien word salad, isn't it? That all them names.
Camnir, Vorrohill, Rian. It's like those random Tolkien name generators.
I was gonna say, yeah. Go on Google. There you go. What's my elven name?
I mean, do you remember Daymore? That he had a death scene.
Poor Daymore, who gets slayed by a fucking Barrow-wight because Elrond couldn't be bothered to tell them how to beat the Barrow-wights at the very onset of the battle.
Never mentioned again.
Because Elrond's a massive fucking racist, that's why.
Yes. What does he get? He gets the Asian elf, kicks the bucket, and then Daymore. So
hey, which two of those elves survive? That's all I'm saying. Amazon, what are you doing? You're not being very
diverse, are we? But I love how no one faces accountability for Daymore's death.
No.
Like, he's got no families. Do elves not have families, apparently? Like, it's just forgotten. Like, the mission's a failure. Like, Elrond shouldn't be leading the armies of Lindon.
The loss of elven life is elven life's meant to be so precious, isn't it? It's like one of the purest forms of anything. And you get that wonderful moment in in both the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy where you have when Haldir is about to pass away, he looks around at all the devastation around him. You have the scene where Thranduil comes to his senses a little bit in the Hobbit films, and he looks around at all the dead elves, like what have they died for? This one, let's move on. Let's not bring it up again.
Yeah, Elrond and Galadriel aren't even lamenting over him. They've just gone.
No.
Like, this amazing.
That ginger-haired elf as well, like, you jogged my memory when you said he was at the foot of the cliff, and he's like, yes! Like, that doesn't seem like very elven behavior, does it? Like, I get that they're all G'd up and, you know, like, battle cries are a thing with elves, but he's like, yes, come on, my son! Like, it's just, it's very un-elven-like, to me, at least.
It's dross. It's absolutely dross, and the directing's been awful, hasn't it, this season? You know, I'm trying to think of performances where I thought, that's great. I thought King Durin, I didn't mind him. I didn't mind Círdan and Elendil at some parts, like the actor. But apart from that, I can't think of the directing being great. The battles were shite.
Mm-hmm.
The directing was awful there, and even just like dialogue scenes between characters are just, they're lacking something. I just thought that, you know, the whole directing of the show was poor. And what's your thoughts been on Sauron, the Master Deceiver?
Have you heard of Sauron?
The guy, you know what I don't get? I've got one problem, and I've thought about this, right?
Just one. I could give you a few of this show, but
there's one problem that I'd love to hear your opinion on this, and you guys at home. So, you know how Mithril can withdraw evil? You know, we see what it did to Adar. Did they forget that Sauron was holding Mithril in the previous season? In season 1, he helped to make the rings with Mithril. He was literally holding the Mithril ore.
Oh god, he was. Yeah.
So why didn't any evil get withdrawn from him? Like, I don't get it.
Oh, I mean, there's loads of threads that don't add up, though, right? I think a lot of the stuff pertaining to the dwarves, where we left season 1 off, I think we like Disa and her ideology on things, or it could be like Prince Durin doesn't link in with where we begin with them in season 2, I think. There's loads of examples of that, though, with some of the characters, I think.
But, like, even, you know, you don't even have to put the Mithril or the ring on an object. You put it near it and it withdraws the evil, you know. Galadriel's right next to Sauron during that whole fight, and he's not repelled by it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just turn off powers when they choose. Sauron's powers, you know, one episode he's mind controlling the elves to kill themselves, and then the next episode he doesn't do anything like that with Galadriel.
So what are all the qualities that Mithril possess now at this point? It can make a blade-proof vest, essentially. It can't be pierced or anything like that. It's light as a feather. It can withdraw evil. It can restore life, both in terms of nature and actually physically resurrecting people. Am I missing anything? What else can it do?
It can save you from blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
Like for falling off a cliff. You know, what else? Exactly.
We got that elaborate origin story for it, how it was created in the very mountain by a epic clash between an elf and a Balrog, and the fucking lightning hit it in just the right place. Why does Mithril need a fucking origin story like this?
I know.
It's just
everything needs an origin. And again, like, if Mithril had these powers, then how's the Balrog doing down there when you've got all those veins of Mithril?
That's a great point.
Like, why isn't that game repelled?
Yeah.
You know, it can withdraw all of this evil, and it's so inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at, like, I don't know, the Return of the King, and you've got the orc that's holding the Mithril vest, and you think, shit, like, he must be burning with this Mithril vest. You know, it's so inconsistent. And Sauron, probably for me, was the worst character, I think, of season 2. I just thought he turned on his powers when he chose. You know, you look at the he created a lightning bolt to destroy that bridge. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
Elrond and that couldn't cross.
This is the work of Sauron. Of course it is.
Yeah,
we knew we were fucked from the start when we got the opening scene. of like so many years earlier at Forad Wraith, and you have guy who looks like Volturi from Twilight is the wimpiest looking fucking guy, and this is Sauron, and he gets Julius Caesared. And then we have this whole extended backstory where he turns into Flumpy Sauron, and he's just made of jelly. And the most pathetic image ever you could ever see of Sauron was where he just flops out of the mountain and rolls down the snowy bank. Just this slud like creature from the Black Lagoon husk kind of thing. It was so bad. I mean, you were fucked from the start with that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, again, you don't know timelines because that was it before the dawn. I think that was the dawn of the first age. So we spent how many years? It could be like, I don't know, like hundreds and hundreds of years. As that
snacks on a rat. Yeah, he eats a rat, doesn't he, at some point?
And then they tried to play it off, didn't they? That, do you remember that old man that tried to talk sense into him? He's only just met him, and he's like, "Oh, you know, it's never too late to turn away." And it's like, okay, are they trying to seriously think that this old man's going to turn Sauron?
Yeah.
Good. And again, he's just been so inconsistent, and even the world building around him, because he traveled to Mordor at the end of season 1. The elves already knew that he was Sauron by that time because they already had spies that watched him go into Mordor, because they say that in season 2. But those timelines don't match up then. And then no one tracked him coming back. Fucking, just think, right, he travelled all the way to Eregion, no checks or anything like that. Gets into Eregion, still as Halbrand. Like, how have you not shapeshifted? Come on, like, you're a master shapeshifter. Nothing. And he gets in because he's cold. Like, it's a deceiver. And
any credibility you get to Sauron being a deceiver or Celebrimbor being anyway halfway intelligent goes immediately out the window from that first scene there.
100%. It's like, oh yeah, he's cold. I've been told to keep you out the city. Go away. Oh, but those rings are working really well. Are they? The rings? Yes. We're back
and he's in. Yeah, honestly, it's like, oh, let me in. I am under no authority to let you into this city. Oh, please. Oh, all right then, come on in. It's literally that easy, pretty much. It's.
And that's
don't forget Medania as well. Who doesn't she see that he's been wounded or something?
Oh,
he's got like something on the back of his neck, and he just turns around, like obviously goes, "Oh, I'm injured. Oh, the pain." And Medania. What? I've already forgot how they pronounce her name.
I just love that as well with Merdania. How do you remember when they had that ring sequence? And I still think that's a prototype for the one ring.
Oh, where she turns,
guarantee it.
She turns invisible.
Yeah, she turns invisible, and then she's like, "I think he's been here all this time," and all this shit has been happening since Anatar's arrived, and it's like, I wonder who it could be.
Why can't she see him in the spectral world? Because where Anatar's standing would be like a giant flaming eyeball of death, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and why would he do that? Because he would give his game away. It's the same reason that I think, why the hell is Sauron fucking with Celebrimbor's mind? Because he wants Celebrimbor to make these rings. He wants him to make them as best as he can. But why is he fucking around with him? He's just causing suspicion around him for no reason.
But we later see that Celebrimbor can make the rings even with a facade, an imaginary forge, because the actual forge and the whole room gets totally destroyed during the initial siege of Eregion.
Yeah, and this is what I don't get as well, actually, is the fact that, so they really want the mithril, yet the last rings were made from his blood once. It was Sauron's blood.
Yes, yeah, because it was a fakery, wasn't it? He thought that he had like little bits of mithril, like the last few little bits, but it was actually his blood, and it was an illusion, wasn't it? I think that's like the little nuggets of mithril that he gave him.
Well, my question is, why did he need the mithril then? If his
Mhm,
blood is the reason why the men are going to get controlled,
mhm.
why didn't he make the dwarven rings out of his own blood?
Yeah,
Like, it
it has the
doesn't
same.
make
It has the same
sense.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And he wants to make the rings like the elves, then why not get the mithril for the rings of men?
Mhm.
Like, I don't get it.
Well, I mean,
Pick your lane.
the actual like look of him as well is so laughable. Like everyone's pointed this out, but the fact that it is literally just Halbrand in a wig and not a convincing one and not a good one, he looks absolutely ridiculous. Do you remember the first shot where he reveals himself as Anatar and it's like some kind of Christian Jesus movie or something with this really bad effect of like the clouds behind him and like a halo, and he's like, I am he. I was actually having a conversation with someone who really likes the Rings of Power. It was a short-lived conversation, suffice to say. But they were fooled. They said that I think Halbrand looked distinctly different to Anatar based on the hair. I was like, it's literally still Halbrand's face. Like, how are you not seeing this? It's not some kind of like Clark Kent Superman effect. It's terrible.
It's awful.
And you could tell the showrunners are like really pleased, like, because if you were going to say like what is the main focus of season 2, I'd probably say it's the whole Celebrimbor and Sauron thing. Everything else kind of feels like it's playing second fiddle to it a little bit. But you can tell that they're genuinely pleased of this, that they've gone through this, they've tore this prolific character down that was Celebrimbor. And we've seen like a Macbeth kind of situation with like just this absolute devolution of a man across the story. And it's a laugh riot. It's the funniest shit. It's so dumb. And honestly, I think all of the scenes that I can think of the most fondly from season 2 in terms of comedic value are all to do with Celebrimbor. He could just be standing on a balcony sipping a cup of tea from a cup, and that'll do it for me. You got hello, Mr. Mouse. You've got the oh my god, the crying face from the trailer. God, he's crying. Sauron's crying. Everyone's crying this season, but we knew we were in unsafe hands from that trailer coming out. But my god, it delivered on comedic value though.
100%.
And Madania getting yeeted off the wall, and he's just like, oh, like,
My favorite clip of his is when he got blown up
twice in the same episode.
twice.
Yeah,
And it's just that edit that you get where he fucking went flying and then he's running within the
yeah,
next episode. And one of my favorite shots was during that scene, I clipped it, was when he's running across the wall. You see this elf that's getting chucked over, and there's an elf next to him that's like pointed at Celebrimbor, like, look at what he's doing. And then this elf gets chucked over this wall, and it's like Celebrimbor does nothing. I thought their so-called bromance, this build-up, this is meant to be, two of the biggest characters, and the season's gonna revolve around them, and they were just awful, to be honest. You didn't really get that build up. You didn't get a great payoff with them, with Sauron crying over Celebrimbor. Why is he crying? Like, I have many names. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
His motivations confused me, man, because he really wanted the Elven Ring during that fight scene with Galadriel, but then he doesn't try and grab it off her when he doesn't use the Force. He doesn't, when he's beaten her, he doesn't cut a finger off or anything. He just does what he wants. Well,
God,
he does what the writers want.
when you just say sentences like Sauron doesn't use the Force, but you're so totally right. It's just Sauron's power levels in this are so inconsistent, and when they're established, it's absolutely damning to the rest of every situation that goes on. He can seemingly, without effort and without expending much of his power, turn an entire squadron of soldiers on themselves to kill each other at a mere thought. Just get the whole elven army to do that. Any character that shows up, just get them to do that. Just get them to take out their sword and commit seppuku, and problem solved. He just force yeets Medania off the crenellation. Just pick every elven soldier up and throw him over. Done. Master illusion. He puts Celebrimbor in this weird situation where the illusion is only pertaining to him. We don't know how much time passes. We're trying to get our heads around that in the episode, because we have, I have had a sense of clarity for weeks. And it's like, well, maybe it's been a couple of hours. We don't know, because other events kind of happen at a normal pace, but then characters will teleport from one area of the map to another, seemingly in the same amount of time. We don't actually know how long this has been going on for. But then this illusion shattered once Celebrimbor smashes the window, but the window would have already been smashed because the whole room is completely devastated when he snaps out of the vision. All of Sauron's powers don't make any sense. But when it comes to that final confrontation with him and Galadriel, where they're having the sword fight, he could use all of these powers. His motivation is to reclaim all of the rings, to be, as they like to name drop, the Lord of the Rings. And he never uses any of these powers at all. He could use his power to make Galadriel stab herself, but he can't because he loves her. He could force push her off the cliff, and he could force the ring to his grasp. He could create an illusion of him taking the elven ring and escaping, so Galadriel's distracted then, and he could actually take it. He could do 1,000,001 other things, none of which that he does, because the power levels are just completely blown out of proportion and make no sense at all.
100% agree.
I'm going to get down off my soapbox now. I feel better after that. That was like...
Yeah, go on.
That was just, yeah. I thought I got all of this out of my system, when we finished season 2 with episode 8, but apparently not. It's still all bottled up, still all in there. The last dregs of the pain and the torment that season 2 brought out.
Well, he's got an army now,
Yes,
because,
yeah.
like you said earlier on, he got Julius Caesared by Adar, and Adar, for me, I think they handled the actor's transition well. I think they did. He didn't jump out for me like, hold on, it's a new actor. I thought he handled that well, but fucking hell, his motivations, he wants a home for the orcs, yet he takes all of the orcs to go and attack Eregion, yet no one spots them, despite them having to travel all the way from Mordor over a mountain range to get to Eregion. No one spots them. And his sole goal is he loves his children, yet he's sending them into battle. And Damrod, what was the point in him? They big up this big character as, he's eats dragons, he's fought against mountain giants, couldn't break a wall.
Yeah.
Had 2 scenes, and then done.
They bigged this character up so much, didn't they? Damrod was going to be the memorable character. He's the Mike Ehrmantraut of trolls, which is a really weird thing for them to say. But anyway, they said it. You had the Ballad of Damrod. He was going to have his own Middle-earth death metal song. Sure, okay. They bigged this character up so much. As you said, Damrod, the slayer of women, titles, whatever they happen to be. The kicker of asses, and they do nothing with him. It's just an absolute pushover. You have a whole army of orcs and one troll. And I was expecting some kind of thing, like maybe he kills a pivotal character. Well, not too pivotal, because, we'll need them for later on. But could have killed Arondir or something, or one of the other elves that you just mentioned up there, maybe. All I'm saying is just give Damrod something to do. Give him a pivotal scene, and he's just an absolute pushover. But Adar himself, I really liked how the actor played it in season 1. And it was a complete betrayal of the lore still, but I thought, okay, there's an intriguing quality about this character. If there was going to be one character that I'd point to from season 1 that I kind of want to know more about, it probably would have been Adar, in all honesty. But yeah, they want they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to go with the angle of that the orcs aren't inherently evil and they're all misunderstood and they just need a place in this world. They've been the skivvies of Sauron, basically, and just used and bred for war, and with no consideration for their feelings or family ties or anything like that. And Adar, the All-Father, is going to be the one to take them to the land of milk and honey. He's going to find them a home, and he's going to take them there, like Moses. And then then in the next breath, on the other hand, you have all the orcs who are storming a city, who are murdering women and children, who are snarling into the camera, who are licking blood off a knife and doing all these absolutely horrible things, which orcs are meant to do, because they have no compassion. They have none of that. They are essentially, Sauron and his orcs is almost like Satan and his legion of demons. That's kind of what they're meant to be. A horrid, corrupted, ruined form of life, or whatever Saruman says in the Fellowship of the Ring. That's what they're meant to be, and nothing more. But you have the family man orc, which they like to focus on that orc loads as well, which is really funny throughout season 2. You have scenes like that, and then you have the scenes of the battle, and the two don't go together, which is why you don't make orcs, a tight nuclear family unit. That's not how it's meant to be. And again, I've been in conversations with people who have defended this, saying, oh, well, I think there's a letter or something from Tolkien saying, oh, orcs mate like everyone else in Middle-earth, or whatever he says. Paraphrasing, I think he would have worded it a lot more eloquently than what I just did. But I'm like, okay, yeah, totally agreed. Orcs do be fucking. That's fine. That's established. And you have Azog and Bolg is the son of Azog, so that's kind of established in the lore. But you ain't gonna have Mama Orc, coddling little gurgling baby orc and the father orc putting his arm around his family saying, must we go to war? Will someone think of the children? You absolutely not. It's just, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Just think of that, man. They tried to make the orcs seem good.
I remember seeing that shot with the orc with the baby, and I thought it was like a human baby they just like stolen that they were about to like eat, or I actually thought maybe it was Celebrian, or so. Well, that wouldn't really work, would it? Because they haven't established that at all, and time passing. But anyway, I thought it was going to be something to do with that. I thought it was going to be like a human child that they'd like stolen or something, because orcs are evil. And I'm like, oh no, that's family unit orc.
Amazing, isn't it? You're just having a couple of orcs raw dogging each other. It's disgusting. And speaking of,
must get lonely on those long marches across Middle Earth. Is all I'm saying,
Wow. Speaking of a said orc, do you want the last guess of the character?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. This is think orc names. Right, we've got lots of looks, look, naks, grishnak, shagrat. Okay. He absolutely is, isn't he? Popping those kids out. What does he look like? He looks like Oh, Dirty Sanchez is in. I just looked. I think he might be right. Ugnak or something. Well, Dirty Sanchez has gone for Glug, and I actually think he might be close to that, maybe.
What's your final guess? What would you say?
Does it begin with you?
No.
Oh, fuck.
It begins with a G.
Oh, it probably is Glug.
Joe Biden. Close.
Just says something in black speech like, I don't know what he said. I don't even think he knew what he said either. Glugnak. I'm gonna combine what I said originally, and I'm gonna nick Dirty Sanchez's Glugnak. There you go. That's what I'm going for. Garignak from Galaxy Quest. It's the thing that the little miners chant when they summon the rock monster. Garignak.
Right. I can reveal that one of you is correct.
Give the point to Dirty Sanchez. He got
it. Dirty Sanchez is correct. It is
Yeah.
Glug.
I only remembers the name because of the memes.
Glug the family man.
I must admit, I didn't see many memes for this season.
No, same. I didn't like, and I only knew one other person who wasn't making videos who actually watched the show. And
that's how little staying power the show has. It because like the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, everyone slated those when they came out, but then they kind of found their second wind through memes in a weird way. I genuinely believe that with the prequels. I think it really helped. But you don't see many like sequel trilogy memes, not really. It's kind of the same with this. When the audience reaches that level of apathy where people can't even be bothered to do memes from it, it's very telling sometimes, I think.
oh, it was the one person who I knew who watched it. His comment was, and I knew I wasn't going to ask him anything else about the Rings of Power. His comment was, Sauron was brilliant in this season. It was breathtaking.
Breathtaking.
I was like, that's enough from me. I've had enough. And I mentioned about the Balrog, and as soon as I brought that up, the conversation was done. Over. But just think of that, man. We've had the Balrog killing a Durin.
I was going to say, should we talk about the dwarves a little bit now? I think we've probably covered. Oh, we've got Numenor maybe as well. But it's all negligible what we can really talk about it. Once again, would you say that the dwarven stuff this series is the strongest? If you had to pick anything, it's always with a caveat, though, isn't it? It's always like, yeah, but it's still terrible. It's still got like a huge amount of problems. There was some ridiculous shit though with the dwarves in Khazad-dûm, namely Disa and her random singing at rocks, and summoning bats. That scene's one of the most ridiculous ones of season 2. I think was Disa summoning the bat swarm to scare Na'vi and the dwarves off for one moment, and then they come back in the next episode, and it's like, oh yeah, we want to team up now. We've had a change of heart.
Yeah, I just love how they didn't go back after the bats flew over their heads. They weren't like, okay, we've still got orders. Let's do this, And just think, man, that the Balrog got discovered because Disa dropped that glass ball and it didn't smash whilst rolling all the way down the steps and that. And that's how she discovered, because she sang to find. She had a little bit of a sing song to find her item. And
she's like, oh, and the Balrog's like, oh, shut the fuck up.
You know what? Season 1, I thought the dwarven material wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't good, but it was the least shit. Like, I sort of enjoyed the actor of Durin, and I thought Disa was all right in season 1. I didn't think she was that bad. I think their characters are shocking in this season, to be honest with you. I think they've really dulled down Durin. They backtracked on his character. They portrayed him at first as being this rich kid who did no work and is weak. They said that he had blisters on his fingers when he was working in the mines, yet he won that competition with Elrond for breaking the most rocks in half. It's like, okay. I thought Disa's motivations didn't match up. 1 minute she's all in favor of the rings, but as soon as they take her job, she's like, oh, the rings are bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it, because as far as they know, the rings are working. Like, they've got their food back, the lights back, trade's going well. I know that the king's got tax, a high tax rate, but everything's going well. So why would they want to get rid of it? And King Durin just gets possessed by them so easily. He's done.
Oh, it's almost instantaneous, isn't it? As soon as he puts the ring on.
Yeah, and why would Anatar give King Durin all of the rings when he's after the dwarven kings, and there's only one dwarf king there? So
what would happen if King Durin put all of the rings on his fingers? If he if he just was fully blinged up.
See, and that's what I don't get. Why doesn't he put more on when he knows that just one has that much power? Why wouldn't he?
Does he
And
turn
why
into like Dr. Manhattan or something if he puts all 7 on?
like Thanos, he's just like snapping his fingers. Like, why doesn't he give one to his son? Like, I don't get it. He holds the cards. Why would Anatar give it all to him? Because if
Mhm.
then, like what he does, he refuses Anatar's offer, then he's fucked. I don't get it, to be honest. And the scene that really is awful and I think ruined the dwarves was the scene with the Balrog. The fact that King Durin died for nothing. He just jumped at the Balrog. They tried to rip off the scene from the Fellowship. And then no one talks about the Balrog later on. No,
No.
it doesn't get brought up one bit. Like, and you think, is this meant to be Durin's Bane? Is that it? Is that it now?
Mhm.
We're not having a Durin the sixth. No, it's Durin the third that's being Durin's Bane. And then no one seals it up. No one sends an army down there. Nothing. It's just move on. Oh yeah, your brother's after your throne. Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. And like,
That's the weirdest bit for me, was
yeah,
how the Balrog just disappears. It's almost like they used all of their effects budget straight away. But it's so weird that the Balrog is there. You witnessed it. This fiery creature from hell has just killed your father and laid waste to the entire Mithril mine, which looks like it does anyway when it's, like jumping out of the mountain and smashing stuff up. And you're in the same mountain. If that happens, you get everyone the fuck out. You have it's really weird, as I mentioned, like the kids, Durin and Disa's kids are mentioned at the beginning, but you never see them. There's never a scene where it's like, Disa, get the kids, blow the horn, sound the alarm. We need to evacuate Khazad-dûm, which is what happens in the book. When it happens, the dwarves have to get out of there, and that's why the mines of Moria and Khazad-dûm just fall to rack and ruin, because no one dare venture in there because of the Balrog. This all kicks off. You get that slow-mo scene where he takes out King Durin, and then right after that, it just disappears. It's like the showrunners forget the Balrog. The dwarves forget there's a Balrog. They still do business in the very mountain when the Balrog's in the next chamber, apparently. And they're talking about your brother is going to be vying for the throne. There's a power vacuum now. Your father's dead. I'm like, there's a Balrog in the other room, guys. What are we doing? Let's go. Let's move. That is the strangest thing to me. It's almost like they just forgot. It's just don't do the Balrog just yet. Perhaps maybe wait. But I mean, we already set it up in season 1, right? So we need a payoff to that. Just having the Balrog will get people talking, and then yeah, like I think that and Arondir getting stabbed, and then all of a sudden he's fine in the next episode. This season is full of that, like those weird inconsistencies where it's like, well, why even bother setting that up if you're not going to follow it through in any way? But yeah, I think to me the biggest head scratching moment is the Balrog out of all of season 2.
oh, I think now that you said the Arondir one, that is funny.
That's up there though. Yeah, that's close.
I think it's the fact that with Arondir, because there's still a potential, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, that in season 3 they might address it. They have to. But with Arondir, he full on got stabbed
A few times, doesn't he? He gets like prison shanked a few times. Yeah.
He got it twice, and it was a deep one. And they said that, all the clips were like, Arondir dies, Adar kills Arondir. But it's the fact that they don't even address how he was healed or
Yeah.
anything. He's just running, like he gets brought to them, captured, and then he's full on fighting. And you think, how?
That's what that almost feels like it was from like an earlier draft or something. But that's what I mean. Why leave that in the final edit if you know where it's going and you know how your show's shaping up and you know you need him round for the ending? How about you don't have that scene where he gets stabbed? How about you have him like get knocked out or something, or like backhanded to the ground or something? Or something happens, a distraction where he's got to rush off and save someone, so the fight's interrupted. Don't have him get stabbed and dwell on it for so long and then not pay that off in the next episode. It's so random, and this series is full of that kind of stuff. It's again like it's like Rise of Skywalker, another fucking terrible, property of something. But you have the moment where Finn is like, Ray, I never told you, Ray, and you're like, what, that he loves her? And it never gets a payoff. It's like, well, why leave that scene in the final cut if you're not going to pay it off? It's so weird. I don't get that decision.
100%. I mean, just his story. What was the point of Arendir wasting so much time on him?
It's a very good question. What is the point of Arendir? That's the question mark right there. What is the point of him?
He's just so miserable, and everyone's saying that always what a true Tolkien elf would be like, with him being is it ethereal? Like, he's got that presence, but he's so miserable. And this whole point of this season was he was sad because he's blamed himself for killing Bronwen.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's trying to be a dad to Theo. And Theo hates him again because he killed Bronwen by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's a prison guard for Estrid. And then all of a sudden he wants to kill Adar. And now I don't know what his motivations are. Like, what's his goal?
I couldn't tell you a single thing about the character. He sucks life out of the scene that he's in. He's like gelatinous Sauron sucking the life out of that rat at the beginning of the season. He's like that for me every single time. The whole storyline where you had him, Theo, Estrid all hanging out was the series low point for me. In terms of my brain just kind of switched off, forgot everything. I was in the void every single time I was watching scenes with those characters interacting. It's a whole bunch of nothing. And they're really trying to make him the new Legolas, where they have him like CGIing, like bouncing over the crenellations. And we thought he was going to get the killing strike on Damrod, and I guess, he helped contribute, but it's just, I really have nothing further to add to the character. He's just an absolute waste of time as far as I'm concerned, and you don't really need him. I feel like his storyline's... Well, what is his storyline? There isn't one. Where's Arendir's story leading to? That final shot of them all on the rock, you don't need him up there.
No, 100%.
Contributes absolutely nothing. We've got Bath Time in the comments. He said, oh my god, it's the lads. It is, backed by hopefully popular demand. He says, it would have been so much cooler if they had said your brother's making a push for the throne as he's already leading an army to take on the Balrog. Would he have heard that? Do they even know that there's a Balrog in there? I feel like that would deter anyone trying to become the king of that place if they realized that there was a fiery demon bastard chilling in one of the chasms in there, but I don't know. I don't know how news traveled that fast that King Dorian was dead. Where this all of a sudden in the next scene they say your brother's vying for the throne, now he knows your father's dead. Like, what? Did you send a raven? Like, how long did that take? But I bet it's going to be Disa investigates all season, probably, or she's going to sing about it or something. My mate is convinced they're going to make Arendir Celeborn next season. Oh no.
No.
I don't think actually they can do that.
I think they might send Arendir out to try and find him. I wouldn't be surprised on that. Because what's he going to do next season?
Mm-hmm. Are they going to have it where Celeborn and Galadriel have had kind of like a turbulent relationship and they're back together and she kind of has some feelings there, but she still has feelings for Halbrand? And we've got like a weird love triangle thing going on with Celeborn, Galadriel, and Sauron. She's going to be embracing and kissing Celeborn, but then it's going to cut and she's going to see a vision of Halbrand's face instead of Celeborn's. Yeah. She's going to have to like shake herself out of it. I bet they're going to do something like that.
100%. She's having flashbacks, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Bath Time says, I still think Elrond joining in on the siege by firing an orc and a payload into the walls of Rhegion was the most out of character thing. That is a fair point. I forgot that happened. Yeah.
Oh my god.
What if that orc would have like smacked into like one of like the elves on the crenellation or something? You just took out your own people.
Could you imagine if that broke through the wall and the orcs are like, Ray, we're in.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
That felt almost like a Hobbit thing, that moment to me. If that had have happened in the Battle of the Five Armies, I would be like, yeah, that kind of fits with the rest of the movie. But even in that movie, I don't think a character would have been that stupid to launch a catapult at their own city.
Although you did have Alfred when he got launched, was it? Did he drop that piece of gold and then it set off the
Yeah, which
catapult that
somehow has
fired
enough
him?
weight to depress the lever, and he, flies into the mouth of a troll, and the troll chokes and technically saves Gandalf in that moment. And Gandalf's staff doesn't work because it's Radagast's, and you have to twiddle with the top because it can be a bit dicky sometimes. God, that film's a pile of shit. And we might be talking about it this December. Who knows? Bath Time says, to be fair to them, Bronwen pissed off in real life, so I can forgive them messing about a bit. They had a similar thing in The Sopranos with Tony's mom. That's a show that I need to watch. I've never actually watched The Sopranos. I've heard very good things, but then I heard the ending shits the bed, and I think that's kind of what's keeping me away from it a little bit.
Yeah, I've not seen The Sopranos. It is on my watch list.
I cannot, but our Bath Time says, I cannot believe they missed the opportunity to make Waldrig Alfred's ancestor and the Witch King at the same time. What the fuck? Why are you bringing Alfred into this?
Yeah, do not put his name in the same
Witch King,
conversation.
maybe. The Witch King will talk. That's a promotion right there, but
it still angers me, mate, that they got rid of Waldrig after one episode.
Could you imagine, like, even as the lows that this show sank to, season 2, we could have had a Waldrig in all 8 episodes, just keeping us through. What's Waldrig going to do next episode? How's he going to get out of this situation? Is he going to become the Witch King? Who knows? Could have been anything. But yeah, we had to say a premature goodbye to him, didn't we, in episode 1?
It did upset me, to be honest, when he died.
Same.
And it upset me because it's like, damn, that's my purpose gone.
Yeah.
For watching Rings of Power.
We need a new purpose. Get him on the show. That's our new purpose in life now. And I agree. Says we now only have Mr. Mouse.
Yes, Mr. Mouse. Bless him.
It's just during the Battle of Eregion, I was like, where is Mr. Mouse? Is he safe? Is he all right?
Like, I was waiting for and I was hoping for. Do you know the scene in the Two Towers where it's like Theoden King stands alone and then you have Gandalf arrive with Éomer? I just wanted, Adar and Auron fighting and they're nearly dying and you just see Waldrig on the hill.
Yes!
It's like Waldrig's just there by himself and he does the charge by himself.
And he rides down on the warg that we ate.
Come on, Waldrig.
For Sauron.
And then you have the swallow music and like the sun appears and just roasts off of Adar's army.
Please, someone edit that. I need that in my life. Please.
Oh, man. But I really hope for some reason they bring him back. They won't. But please.
I'm holding out hope. There's a chance. A slim chance, mind you. I wouldn't put money down on it.
No.
But I'm hoping. I really hope. Bath Time says I was hoping they were going to do Ratatouille with Mr. Mouse and he was controlling Celebrimbor. It'd make more sense than what actually happens at that point. Christ. He comes surfing in like Legolas on his ride.
Oh.
See, we just made a better show. Like, if you're going to be ridiculous, go for it. I don't care. Just do it.
100%. Right, Bath Time, please. Right, they've got a Coronation Street writer for season 3. Please go for season 4. Please, and bring Waldrig back.
I want to bring this comment up from earlier because it made me laugh. I did notice it. Let me see. Whereabouts was it? It's when we were talking about Coronation Street. It's around here somewhere. Oh God, hang on. Was that it? No, shit. There it is. Okay. Anon said, write it from Coronation Street because they're writing Waldrig's coronation. Hell yes. It needs to happen.
Come on, lads. We can make it happen.
I think that covers the dwarf stuff, doesn't it? Numenor, I guess, is the last sort of story thread. I think we've talked about the stores in Gandalf. We've talked about Eregion, Sauron, Celebrimbor, Galadriel. the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm. I think it is literally just Numenor now, isn't it? Is that the only other one?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. And it's a mess, isn't it? Really, the amount of time wasted that we could have been using that time to build up the Numenorian plot. Have that tension for a whole season, and then have Ar-Pharazôn at the end take over. But no, Ar-Pharazôn is in charge because an eagle flew behind him, and one scene that always makes me laugh, right? It's the trial scene. So Muriel is getting tried for treason, Elendil is, and Muriel steps up, right? And after the trial's done, they are all chanting for Muriel. They're all saying, Elendil goes, let's hear for Queen Muriel. It's like, okay, you've just committed treason again. And it was so ridiculous. And you think of what we achieved during the Numenorian plot. So Elendil's daughter, I forgot her name, is it Anarion?
No, Anarian's the brother.
Oh, what's her name?
Oh God. we've mentioned this name. We always Google this name and we always forget it right after.
Oh,
anyone, hey, bonus point. Character names. Can you remember what she's fucking called?
It's not Miranda Granger. I've completely forgotten. And it's only been a week.
Kind of like so you have like Elendil. It's kind of like I swear it begins with E, doesn't it?
I swear it's E-A something. A-R. Is it
Alarion? Alarion. I thought Alarion is isn't that the name of Aragorn's son?
Because you got Isildur's brothers Anarion.
Oh, Eldarion, sorry, is Aragorn's son. My bad.
Is it Arian? Arian, isn't it?
Do you want me to Google it? Or
yeah, let's have a crack.
Okay, Elendil's daughter.
Arian. Not like the Aryan race, but
oh, you're close. yeah. Aarion.
Aarion.
With the two little dots above the A. Aarion.
That character.
Oh, there we go. Bath time got it.
Who I found really funny because Amazon put out a post saying about the best female characters of season 2, and they were saying like these brave, amazing characters, and I thought,
stunning and brave.
Why the hell is she there? Because she's evil in the show. Like she causes the fall of Numenor. like
I want to say, wasn't this? I'm not off base saying this right. There was a huge personality character shift from how she was in season 1 to all of a sudden how she is in season 2.
Yeah, and there's a huge change within the last episode. She flips. And 1 minute she looked into a Palantir, didn't she, in the last season, and then she basically started the riot in the hall, and then she's a proper loyalist towards Ar-Pharazôn, even to the point where she's willing to lose her dad, and then she completely flips and then wants Elendil to comply, and then all of a sudden she's against Ar-Pharazôn at the end. Why? If you're gonna have her be evil, just go full out. Stop flip flopping.
Yeah.
Because then I think, okay, why didn't she go with Elendil? If she thinks what Ar-Pharazôn's doing's evil, it doesn't make sense. And she was a pointless character. And then you've got this stuff with Ar-Pharazôn, who, how much screen time have we had with him?
Next to nothing. There's the only scene I can remember is where he says to his son Kermit that there is a prophecy said by his mom. Was it like his mom when he was born that he's gonna be shit and die and fail and be a terrible, awful son? Was that what it was? That's the only scene I remember. All the other scenes, he just kind of stands there and he's all beardy and scowly, and I don't really remember much else from him.
Yeah, 100%. Like you had those scenes where they're talking treason out in the open in the bar, and it's
Oh,
not
with
even like
Elendil. Oh, that scene. I was going to say, I thought you meant
yeah.
Elendil with the handcuffs, where he's like, he
Oh.
walks and points.
He just starts walking slowly and no one like grabs him or
Yeah.
anything. He's
It's
like,
like,
you.
security.
It's like, what are you doing? But it's like when they talked treason, they didn't do it like Game of Thrones, where it was subtle and they were just talking out in the open, and then you've got people in the background that shouldn't be able to hear them talking, and they do. And it's I just thought his character was awful, and they're putting a lot of that down onto his son. Like, why are we interested in Kermit?
Mhm.
I don't care about him, to be honest. And it just feels just so awfully rushed. And you got to think that we've got to get to a stage next season where our Farazan's going to come back to Middle Earth and he's going to capture Sauron.
Mhm.
That needs to happen. But how are they going to get to that point?
Well, you could start with actually having some scenes with Artharas, and that would be nice, to actually get a sense of what his character's like. Honestly, I hated Elendil's daughter this series. Well, to be honest, she kind of faded into the background because, case in point, we can't remember her name ever. That says everything you need to about the character. But she was just kind of there, like an addition. She was almost like set decoration. I mean, there's two very nice reasons why I like having her character around, but beyond that, she is hateful this series. Absolutely contemptible. Couldn't stand her this season. Our Farazan, I want to like. He's one of my favorite characters from the Silmarillion, not because he's a good dude. In fact, he's quite the opposite. He's an absolute tyrannical dick, but I thought he's a interesting and compelling character, especially during the Akalabeth at the end of the Silmarillion. I thought he was a really interesting character. And maybe he has the potential to be, not with this showrunner, not with this, these writers and everything. And granted, we've got a new writing team now, but I'm sorry, the damage is well and truly done.
Yeah.
It's over. It was over from episode 1 of season 1. It was certainly dead in the water at the end of season 1. And this is just doubling down on more of the same. But you know what? That's what keeps bringing us back in a weird, fucked up way.
Yeah.
That's what keeps bringing us back. So I'm all for a season 3. I'm like, bring it on. Let's see what you got. Elendil, again, another actor who I like the actor. I think he could play Elendil really well, but he's just given absolutely nothing. It's just really frustrating to watch. You have Miriel, who's like the second coming. She is the chosen one. She descends the staircase in angelic white, looking like pure, like a sacrificial Christ or something, Christ-like figure, and is sacrificed to the actual Kraken, like Cthulhu. Like the whole world is turned on mythical creatures, apparently, when it comes to Numenor. You want to elect a new ruler, stand whichever window the eagle's going to land at. You want to see if actually someone is guilty or not guilty, the sea Kraken will decide your fate. What are we... So it spits her out, and then she's there. When you mentioned earlier that the scene that you thought was the funniest in Numenor, I thought you were going to mention something else because this scene just came back to me when you mentioned it. Doesn't this like grief-stricken mother slap the shit out of blind Miriel in one scene?
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I was like, oh my god, you're hitting a blind woman. Like, you can't do that. There's like
It's like
rules
no one,
against that shit, isn't there?
yeah, like no one stopped her. Like they just
Yeah,
went
yeah.
up to her, and that as well, how they handled her losing the throne, like losing her crown, and that there was no build up. It's just straight away, there was no build up of the tension, and it was just okay. An eagle landed, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, amazing. And they've got to marry at some point.
Yeah, how are we going to do that? How are we going to get it to that point?
I don't.
Assuming they do follow through with that, because they've been very lax with the source material up until this point.
No chance. They're not going. They're not having that. No way.
Oh, do you remember the Narsil scene?
Oh, how can I forget?
That was pain. That scene was... Oh god, are we going to do like top 10 worst scene? Well, we won't do it in this stream, but like top 10 worst scenes of season 2. This is up there for me. In terms of like, you get so many references to the Peter Jackson movies, whether it's a line here, a Balrog design here, but honestly, this utter recreation of that pivotal moment from the Return of the King movie, even down to like the character placement and the shot choices, and even kind of how it's edited as well, it really bothered me, this scene. Yeah, made me very angry, because that's one of my favorite moments, a huge character moment from Return of the King, in this hopeless pastiche of a scene in Rings of Power.
And you think as well of Elendil's plot. So his whole plot was Muriel told him to, follow along with the loyalists to Arpharazon. You've got to toe the line, go on with them. And he just goes, nah, fuck you, I'm going to rebel because of me morals. And then he could have potentially fucked up the whole vision, his whole future, by just not listening. And then it turns out that Muriel's right, he should listen. And then he goes away in the end anyway. So what the hell is his story in this season? And just think that he wouldn't have got Narsil if it wasn't for Muriel.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But he's going west, isn't he, in this next
west
season?
To find his son, isn't it? Anarion, I think he mentions. Who he says Anarion and like some of the faithful reside still to the west, so he's heading there. Yeah, I mentioned in the stream, I think, that west, I was like, was he going to head to Valinor? They're not allowed. There's the great ban. They're not allowed to go to Valinor. And someone said, no, the west of the island. I was like, oh, yeah, because Numenor is a huge island with different provinces and places there. I was like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, this season for me, season 2, well, as we've kind of highlighted, nothing much happens. I think in terms of story, it's very kind of top heavy with the Celebrimbor, Sauron kind of stuff and the actual creation of the Rings of Power, but almost to an absurd degree. Everything else feels like it's moving at a snail's pace, and then you have that one storyline there that feels like it's being speedrun. In one season, we've created, well, the Elven Rings were pretty much in the last episode, so right after this, you have the Dwarven Rings all being made, and the 9 are made. All the rings are made now, bar the One Ring, of course, although potentially maybe that one, we have seen maybe the creation of the One Ring in this, who knows. But we've done that. We've got 3 more seasons to pad out. Everything else just feels like it's treading water. The storyline with Gandalf and Nori and Poppy, absolutely pointless. Bath Time says, who is a worse character, Poppy or Aarion? I'm going to say Poppy, because she's just completely fucking irritating and pointless and just doesn't need to be there. Aarion, at least you have like some scenes of drama with her and her dad, I suppose. So there's actually something to talk about, maybe. Poppy's just like set decoration and not a nice decoration at that. So all of that Rune storyline, to me, you could have just ripped out of the series and nothing changes at all. Arondir and the Isildur story with Estrid. Oh, that's steaming hot relationship that's blossoming between Isildur and Estrid. Absolutely pointless. Just stalls for the runtime. Get it out of there. It doesn't need to be in there. Theo as well. What are we doing? Why have we got Ents here that just show up? It's just key jangling. The Dwarven stuff could be interesting, but I feel like we've speedrun that. We've prematurely released the Balrog 1,000 years before it should show up. And then because we know we've written ourselves into a corner with that, but we still got to keep people in Khazad-dûm because we've got 3 more seasons of story to tell, we're just going to not mention the Balrog. We're not going to address the Balrog in the room. And he is literally in the next room and no one talks about it. It really irritates me. So that feels like it's being speedrun. So it's this weird in-between where the main narrative thrust feels like it's a race to the finish, but everything else, nothing happens. In 8 episodes of a TV show, 8 hours of content. How much ground did we cover in 8 hours worth of story in the Lord of the Rings film trilogy? How much do we cover in 15 minutes? Like Boromir's character is on screen for what, 10, 15 minutes total, I think? He has a whole arc and is probably one of the most compelling characters out of the whole trilogy. And that's in 15 minutes, let alone 8 hours. Holy smokes, you pretty much almost finished the trilogy in that point. We've got 8 hours of story and just nothing to write home about at all.
I think at the 8 hour mark, I think you're at when I think it's the Battle of the Black Gates. I think,
Hmm.
which is mad, isn't it? Look how
Yeah,
much has been achieved,
exactly. And in a fraction of the budget.
and what have we got? Poppy and Nori setting up the Shire.
What have we got? Rufio. That's what we've got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of Tolkien's greats.
It
Merry
hurt.
Mac.
Yeah, I keep saying that this when season 2 started, it felt a lot easier than season 1. It's like that BoJack Horseman quote, like it gets easier, as it goes on, and it did for a while. I just kind of let it wash over me, but then the anger seeped in, and it's burning again with a fiery passion, and I will keep the beacons lit until season 3 rears its ugly head in 2 more years. We get a watchful peace of 2 years at least, which is too short a time, I feel, to mentally prepare for another series of Rings of Power. But we will be here for season 3. We're going to just, for like the last couple of minutes, because I'm just conscious of the time, sort of maybe speculate where we think season 3 is going to go. Dirty Sanchez says, I'd be willing to bet money that Farazan had about 3 times the screen time thus far as Carl Urban's Aemir. Let that sink in. That might be a good point. To echo a similar point that was raised earlier, also from Dirty Sanchez, says, Haleth, son of Hammer, has like 3 seconds of screen time, and I still know his name. You revealed the 4 idiots' name, referring to those elves, the 4 idiots' name on the screen 5 minutes ago, and I've already forgotten them again. That's a good point. I remember Ryan. And yeah, genuinely, I have forgotten the other 3.
Right, name them again.
I can't.
Right, I remember him on the left is Vorohill.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and then you have Damnia. Damnia?
No,
Is the black guy?
Daymore.
Daymore. Hell, I'm hopeless at this.
And then Camnia, right in the middle. Don't forget them because they're going to be pivotal. Camnia and fucking Vorohill.
Did you genuinely remember those, or do you have the Google page still up?
I have definitely not got the Google page on.
Fair play. I think that could be a test for like early onset Alzheimer's or something, or short-term memory loss. You're just gonna like mention it. You're gonna hold up that card again in like 5 more minutes, and I won't be able to recite them. You've already just said them, and I probably can't say them.
Oh man! But look at their costumes, brilliant.
Oh, look at that. That's what $1 billion buys you right there. Fucking LARP's finest.
Like I say, I'd love to know the dictator who ruled the elves after this period, because there ain't that multicultural in the later on seasons. So
yeah, there's going to be some kind of ethnic cleansing that's going to happen in the land of Middle Earth. Which, oh god,
oh dear,
maybe oh god, what's that?
No, Waldrick.
No, I was going to make Aryan joke from earlier when we were trying to remember her name. God almighty. Bath Time says, any scene with Rufio is up with the dumbest stuff I've seen on screen. Do you remember people thought that actor was going to be Anatar? Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Yeah, it's funny.
Just think of that, man. We thought that he was going to be Anatar. Fuck. Merry Mac, is it?
Merry Mac and Cheese, yeah. There we go. Soundwave says season 3 will end with Sauron's capture by Farazan. Season 4 will end with Numenor downfall. Season 5, Last Alliance. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I think you're probably right, actually, about them pacing out the Numenor downfall, because if they do end season 3 with that, it is spectacle to end the season on, I suppose. And I guess it could be the equivalent of the whole Balrog thing for this season. But then where'd you go for another 2 seasons? I mean, you've got Last Alliance for 1, but then, yeah, you have got that in between season where you can't really do anything. There isn't sort of like another big event before that point. So I think that's probably a good shout, actually. I think you've mapped that out pretty well. Let's just take really quickly then. I'm just going to speed fire this out. All the groups of the characters that we talked about, where we think they're going into season 3. So we leave the elves from the screenshot that I had at the beginning. You're going to have them. I think you're going to have Elrond setting up Rivendell as a base. I think we're going to see that. And we're probably going to have. There's another attack on Lindon, isn't there? I think is there another. Sauron sends his army to Lindon. I think does that happen in the book?
Sure. Let me butchers.
But you're going to have. I think you're going to have like another last stand against Sauron and his armies because it never ends well for the elves. We know that. All of that stuff kind of goes to shit. Yeah, I think you're going to have more Pharazôn stuff. Hopefully, get more scenes with him because he's basically pulling citizens out of their homes, and there's going to be human sacrifices. I think you don't really get that stuff until Sauron is present, though. I think like the whole human sacrifice thing. I think I always thought that was with Sauron's involvement, where he talks about Morgoth and everything like that. But I think you're going to have more reference to the gods and the Great Ban and things like that. Elendil is going to be, well, we're going to see Anarion. So we're going to be setting up the two houses there with Isildur and Anarion. And the Faithful. So I think you're going to have Elendil. You might even have a skirmish. There you go. That could be like your ending of season 3. You could have like this skirmish between the Faithful and Ar-Pharazôn. Yeah, Sauron getting captured. I think that's a fair shout. The Armada being built with Isildur and Theo, that's going to tie into that as well, where they set sail to try and get to Mordor or wherever Sauron's going to flee to. The Ring Wraiths, you're going to have the 9 set up. You're going to have the 9 Kings of Men. You're going to have the Saruman storyline. I don't know where that's going, man. I really don't. Like, what are we doing with that? We might get insight into like Radagast maybe and the Blue Wizard's existence. Mind you, I thought that for season 2. I thought we were going to get the Blue Wizards this season, maybe. I hope we're done with the stores. I hope we don't see them again, but we did kind of set up that whole promised land of the Shire, so I suppose if they want to bring them back in, we might get some of that. Whoever left out, Khazad-dûm, you're just going to have the power struggle. We're going to see more dwarves. We're going to see his brother, and we're going to probably see some of the other kingdoms of the dwarves. And I think we're probably going to see the rings distributed. I think maybe even Prince Durin takes up a ring because we see him look over at them at the very end. And I think his brother's going to get one of the rings now as well. I always thought it was going to be Disa, but I think it's going to be Prince Durin needs to take up a ring because I think his brother's going to be super powerful, and I think his brother's going to require a ring, and I think to combat his brother, he's going to have to rise to the occasion, and he's going to have to take one of the rings as well. I think, and then on top of that, I think Galadriel's just going to be as thoroughly unlikable as she always is. I guess they're my predictions for season 3. Can't wait to watch this video again in 2 years and just see how wrong I was about everything. What are your predictions for next season? Feel like Rocky 3. What's your prediction? Prediction? Pain. Like, yeah, that's what it will be.
Now that it's one of them, it makes sense for them to have the fall of Numenor, say in season 4, and have, you know, Ar-Pharazôn capture Sauron in season 3. But it's Amazon, so I think we'll get the fall of Numenor next season.
Probably right.
I think Gandalf will somehow have a battle with the Dark Wizard. They'll have a fight. I think we'll get the 9 men who will carry the ring. So I think Sauron will be going around finding those men. What else have we got? I think Arondir will either with Galadriel or by himself will find Celeborn. He'll just randomly bump into him. Or someone has found information, it's been leaked where they know where he is. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll be his quest. Theo will become the what's it called now? So he's already the Lord, and he's linked with becoming the King of the Dead.
Oh God, really? Oh yeah. Jesus.
Because he's creating a bond, Annie, with Isildur.
Yeah.
And some reason it'll be where he can't come to his aid, and then he'll die, and then
he'll curse Theo. Isn't that? You know what? I hope that comes true now, because every time I watch Return of the King, I want to go. The King of the Dead's name is Theo.
That's our Theo over there.
Yeah.
You know, this superpower. So I think that will happen. I think we will be having more of the hobbits. I think Poppy and Nori will be setting up the Shire, and I think they'll be going around finding other hobbits. I think they'll try and find their family in this show, and we'll have them back again. What else is there? Oh, I think Elendil will somehow go back and rescue Isildur, who will be on some sort of trial, I think, for treason because Kemen's got him. So yeah, the dwarven storyline, I don't know where they could go because if Durin does have a ring, then surely Disa would leave him because she fought so much against the rings. So I can't see them having a ring, to be honest. But I think it's going to be another shit season. I think the season was broken after the first one, and I don't think it's redeemable. So yeah, the only thing that interests me is just I don't know how much they fuck up and if they have a cool battle scene, which we've seen they can't pull that off. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen, but I'm sure it's going to be funny.
Well, that's season 3 being bad. I think out of all of our predictions so far, I think that's one that we're going to hit the nail on the head there. I think we know exactly what we're in for. And we love it. We'll be here in 2 years. But obviously, we'll have videos out before then. We've got a lot of plans, which we'll sort of sprinkle through and let you know as and when we feel like announcing them. It shouldn't be too long, actually. Let's just round off with some of your other guys' opinions and predictions for season 3. Bath Time says, I think Sauron will end up in Numenor in season 3. Al Farazan has seen him in the Palantir as Halbrand, so that's next season for me. And he says, is Anarion the other guy on the Argonath? In the books, yes, it's Isildur and his brother Anarion. In the movies, they switched it with Elendil and Isildur. Because, we just cut Anarion out of the movie. They also said it was up to Galaders. I love that. It was up to Galadriel if they attack Sauron straight away or not. I'd see. I don't think they're going to go that far. Bath Time. They've stooped low before, but I don't think they'll go that low. Although we did have Elrond making out with Gundal in season 2, so
Wow.
always bear that in mind.
Oh.
Theo as King of the Dead sounds spot on. Yeah, no, you might be onto something there. I'm just imagining Theo now. That line was broken.
Fucking this kid, man, is going to be the king of the dead. Oh,
I know. Yeah, let's just see what else is coming in. Oh no. Bath Time says a pitiful attempt to make Disa Gloin's mum and Gimli's gran. I feel like it's a little bit too before that time for all of that stuff, to be honest. But again, we've moved the Balrog up 1,000 years. So, maybe Gimli can be like this millennia old dwarf or something come time to Lord of the Rings. And Dirty Sanchez says, you think they actually replaced the whole writing staff? I pity those fools. That's like picking up Star Wars after Rian Johnson. Yeah, well, I mean, J.J. Abrams had to do that, and look how that ended up. Look at the actual fucking state of Star Wars at the moment.
The problem is that they've replaced them, but they've kept J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, who run the thing. So it's still going to be shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to send Thorin and his best warriors to cut the head off the snake. That's where it all stems from. It's going to be the showrunner and the not even them, because I get the impression that they're just kind of yes men. It's the upper echelons of Amazon, I think, that are sort of pulling the strings on all of this. But yeah. Right, guys, we will round off there. So this is going to cap off season 2 very nicely. However, I do have an announcement. The previous video that we did, so our season finale live stream, which was actually a really, really fun video, it did get taken down, unfortunately, due to copyright, but I'm in the process of reinstating it. So the quality may suffer slightly, but I can record the screen. I'm going to record the audio separately. I'm going to throw it into post-production and I'm going to re-upload it and I'm going to blur certain things out. And fingers crossed, it should work. So at least then we'll have a complete playlist of everything. And if you guys do choose to go back and watch us talk about the season finale, where it was just exclusively on that episode, you can do so, because I know that a few people have asked me where the video went. So I'm going to try and do that this week if I can. I need to free up a day because it's a 3-hour video and I need to have the screen recording for the full 3 hours as well as the audio. So I'm working on it. There's other streams coming out this week, so that might delay it a little bit, but it will be on the channel and we will have a complete playlist. Bath Time says, what are the future Lord of the Rings plans? Will there be a weekly show with you two? We've been discussing a few things. I don't know if it'll be weekly. It could be bi-weekly and stuff, but we definitely do have a lot of ideas of Lord of the Rings stuff we want to cover, not just on this channel, but over on Everything on Middle-earths as well. We've been talking about tier lists and ranking things, and also we've got the War of the Rohirrim coming out in just, well, about 2 months now, really. It's going to come out pretty close. There's an anniversary of a certain Hobbit film this year in December as well, so we've been talking about a lot of stuff. I think we're probably going to take a week after this, because it's almost like Frodo needing to sail into the west to have a good rest after all the hardship that he's endured. Season 2 has took it out of us a little bit, but we've loved every minute of it. So we're just going to take a week, and then we're going to come up with some ideas. But I think, yeah, a semi-regular show is going to be good fun. Because, I mean, I love doing these videos anyway. You know that, man. It's always a blast doing videos with you. And yeah, I like the crowd that we get. You know, we get the regulars in. I think we've built it up, which is really, really nice. So I'd like to keep that going for sure. Bath Time says, I'd love your wildest theories one day. Well, I don't know. I think Everything in Middle-earth's one about Waldrig riding down to save everyone on a warg is pretty much up there. Dirty Sanchez says, thanks guys for your coverage, was really fun. No, I'm glad you joined us on the journey, man. It was great. Bath Time says bi-weekly is twice a week. Do you mean every 2 weeks? Yeah, I said, yeah, I misspoke. Sorry. Yeah, one video every 2 weeks maybe, but we'll have a chat and we'll see what's what. Brinsley says, I'm still here, been listening along while playing Helldivers. Oh, that's cool, man. Love you, Brinsley. You're awesome. But yeah, we'll round off there. So what is coming up on the channel for me? The Disney review tomorrow. So what am I talking about? I haven't watched it yet. Bolt, this gem from, what was it, 2008? Haven't watched it yet. Could be amazing, could be terrible. I don't know. I'll let you know tomorrow during the review. That's going to be me and Dale. And then there's no more Star Wars reviews now, actually. They've been occupying the last few Tuesdays, but we're not watching 7, 8, and 9. We're not giving them the time of the day. So the saga is finished at episode 6. So yeah, I'm going to endeavor to get that episode 8 of season 2 of Rings of Power out and re-uploaded. Oh God, anything else? I think that's probably going to be it at the moment, actually. So maybe like a little bit of a break, but if there's any movie out or something or anything that takes my fancy, I'll do a video on it. So please do consider subscribing. Everything in Middle-earth, thank you very much for joining me on this epic quest, good sir. And where can people find you? And what have you got coming up on your channel?
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's been amazing, and seeing the guys in the chat, you know, Bath Time, Anon, Dirty Sanchez, Brinsley, you know, it's been amazing to be here and hear your guys' opinions, and it's been really funny, and I've loved it. And I was going to say this as well, that we've got Hunt for Gollum news coming out, and I'd love to have you over on the channel to do a little podcast where we talk about all the news that we've got so far and thoughts and feelings on that. So I think we'll discuss this off air, but I think that would be a video that I'd love to do, and even just speculations on the Hunt for Gollum, what they're going to change and stuff like that. But I think for myself, I'm doing top 5 videos at the moment. I'm going to compile a couple together, and then within 2 weeks' time, I'll probably shoot that video if you're up for that. Do a little podcast on that, and then any live Lord of the Rings content. You know, I think we discussed it the other week about possibly watching A Born of Hope,
and
some of the doing
films,
a review, and you know, even we got War of the Rohirrim, and we can discuss what we're going to change about that. So, you know, anytime you want me on, mate, I'm 100% down. Like I say, I love being on here, and I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and for everyone in the chat. So thank you very much.
It's awesome, man. Thank you for joining me on them. I mean, 2 seasons deep now. This is great. I love what we've built with it. And yeah, lots of exciting things on the horizon. And as I say, it is 2 years until Rings of Power Season 3. But we're going to have plenty of other stuff coming out. Don't you guys worry. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone that's tuned in, watched everything. We'll be back very shortly. And I'll keep you updated with all the plans that we've got. So until then, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.